get rid of that. And get rid of that. And that. And that. Whoops. Whoops. There we go. And then there we go. Now we go to Discord. Little Discord. There we go. Okay, let's see, where are we? Well, we are here and we have coffee with ice. Hello, Caleb. How you doing, buddy? Hello again. And socks. We're gonna wear socks today. Gamed all time. Damn it, Skylar. Trying to be productive here by putting on socks. We're only like half cult leader today. Get wrecked. Screw you, streamer, you fucking sausage. How dare you? How dare you? Alright. That's it. Skylar, you're to blame for everything. Gamedall. Classic. Less than 4/3 to you too. Is this Tears of the Pal World? It's not Pal World. What's that one? I know, Marvin. These people have no self-control, no shame. Monitor is acting up. Let's figure this out. So this is some kind of what was that? No, I think, what about Palia? Yeah, it was. The only thing I know about this game is that I think Acton talked about playing this with a friend once, and he did not invite me to play with him. If you're watching this, why was I not invited? Is it because I'm bad at games? This did not quite happen. It's one of those Pokemon or like animal trainer games, right? It does. So yeah, I know, Janelle. It's just out of this world. I don't know. I genuinely uninstalled Balatro today. I uninstalled it. The first thing I did. The first thing I did when I sat down before I started stream was uninstall it, right? At least 10 hours. Easy to download. Oh, you guys. Ye of little faith, all right? Hello, Root. How you doing? So, bar a slightly obnoxious headache, we're going to do a little bit of programming today. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to nip this in the bud. Should I not? Okay. When I get a headache, it's like 50-50 if I can keep streaming or not. I'll take the headphones off because they're not going to help. We'll see how this goes because I got a lot to do today. I can't afford to be lying on the sofa feeling sorry for myself, right? Sleeping it up again, or just go to sleep and then sleep forever, dreaming about a world where the problem doesn't even exist. It's not a feasible solution. Although, you know, maybe like a medically induced coma. Be rich enough to be in a medically induced coma until your problem has gone away. That's the solution. You love programming? Oh my god, what a nerd. Get a life already. You love programming so much. Why don't you marry it? We don't do that nerd shit here, okay? We're gonna do some programming. I'm not entirely sure what we're gonna do though, right? We're gonna do something. Wow, ICS, thank you so much for the sub at tier 3 as well, right? We need more sub alerts. We unaddicted, okay? That's how strong my resolve is, Monokuma. Yes, we're back to coding again. I think there's enough ice in this coffee. No, not human babies' eyes. That would be weird. Although they do look like fingertips. It's a morbid kind of day, but I kind of feel like I don't care that much. So we're good. All right, it's time for Hoppy Days. You don't. There you go, right? 222, I think. 222. But who's to say, right? It's not important about who said what. I realize the camera is a little bit too out there. Too much background. Too much of my filthy room is showing. Don't, yeah. Like, I always felt like that is the best solution. You're unemployed. Don't be. You have no money. Stop being poor, you idiot. All right? These are just simple solutions to simple problems, okay? There's no Balatro hate. Balatro is a fantastic game, but I feel like I have exhausted my patience. I beat all the decks except the ones that I didn't really care for that much. So I left the Anaglyph, the Erratic. The Erratic one was fun, but it's such a gamble when you started it, right? And the Plasma deck never interested me. I know people were like, that's how you get Nanymph, but for me, the Plasma deck was like, just feels like I have to think more. I don't want to do that, right? Why are we coding today? Maybe we look at some things. Enrico, are you here? All right, hopefully Enrico's not here, because what I'm going to say is going to inflate his ego, right? Enrico's had some pretty good ideas, and I think maybe I'm going to try to implement them. But if Enrico turns up, we're going to blame him for all that is wrong, okay? If you find anything that is wrong in your life, I want you to blame Enrico for that, okay? All right? But no, Enrico's had some good ideas, and I think we're going to implement them. Right? You can certainly share with me, ICS. Go for it. No, I don't think it's your fault. All right. If the documentation is lacking or is not Italian enough, then we shall fix. I can't do anything about the Italian part, though, right? Other than show hand gestures and such. But I will try. I thought, is that a bun in the background? No, that's the infamous bunny hat. Bunny hat. I wore that bunny hat on stream a few times because that's what a grown-up do. And that's what you do when you're old like me. Italian is only hand gestures. You're right, Caleb, but don't tell people this because you put Duolingo out of business. I'd be like, Duolingo, lesson 1, Italian. Oop. Can't do that on stream. You get cancelled by the index finger committee. Oh no, eating all the time. That's everyone, right? I've had 2 breakfasts so far, and I'm not done. But tell me, ICS. So you want like a getting started thing, and to me, that is what the guide is. So that means that there's something lacking from the guide. So where do you get stuck? Let's talk about that. You gotta watch out for them, right? And in the meantime, what should we do? Oh yeah, at least 7, Caleb, right? Some people confuse late breakfast with dinner, but they're just Philistines. We don't care about them. Yes, the voice is going already. All right, is anyone on the YouTubes? No. Oh yeah, one viewer. Hope that's you, CP. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Okay, let's get on with some program. So actually, Rebel had some interesting thoughts yesterday that made me a little bit inspired and excited. I knew you guys could do it. I knew you could incite and inspire and other things than violence, right? So I did think about this a little bit, and I think that a virtual machine for magic is definitely something that we should look at some point, because I think that will be really funny, right? What does that mean? Well, think about it as you feed in an environment. You have an environment, and you have components of a spell, and then these things will execute like instructions, right? And so the environment affects and is affected. So maybe environment affects the spell, and then you execute all the spell code, and then the outcome of that re-affects the environment, right? So you kind of have environment, you have inputs, right? You have, this is the magic system here, right? You have the environment, the ENV here, that goes in to this magical, we're gonna obviously gonna call it MVM, right? The magic virtual machine, okay? And then all the spell components will go in here, right? We're gonna call them C. They're like instructions. Actually, they have to be ordered too, right? So you'll have the magic spell components here, right? They have to be ordered because the order matters probably. And then the output that we get from that is going to go back to the environment, but really it's going to be affecting the environment going forward. And I think that would somehow be very cool. Hello, random. How you doing? It is you. Well, thank you for saying hi. It is you. I says as if I knew who random was, but hello and thank you for watching. I think you're alone there on YouTube, but that's fine. Okay, we like to diversify our views. So we have you there, and then everyone else. When I say everyone else, I don't tell you the real number because it's depressing. But there you go, right? Oh, damn it, it's you. Oh, it's you already. Anyway, let's see. No, me neither. Wait, what? Yes. So please share more. Okay, let me read. I use examples. I have an inconsistency with my environment. Okay, can you maybe share some code that we talk about that, right? Can we make a REST API on MVM? No, it has to be fast, right? It has to be well, fast-ish, right? So you can execute a spell without having to perform a TLS handshake, right? It is me. What was that, Enrique, though? I don't know. Enrico is not here to be blamed for anything just yet, right? Um, OS in MVM when? Never. Okay, but I think this will be fun to build, right? I think that will be fun to build. But before we do that, we're gonna do some Enrico nonsense first. Right? But we got many things going on now. We got ICS or Icy Boix, as my kid says. Or was it Icy Boy? Maybe we need to maybe like get an understanding for. Let's keep that conversation going in the background as well, right? So don't stress ICS. Well, we'll look at it throughout the thing, right? And then Rico had some suggestions. So I think we're gonna do is we're gonna try to make generic components for Twitch. Now that's going to be a little bit weird, but I just realized that we can build components that lets you do all kinds of, or rather not just components. We can build something that feeds your components, right? So we can build a component input pipeline. Ooh, big words. And we can make this do some pretty fantastic things, I think. right? So building this chat, for instance, will become a fraction of the work that it is today. And to do that, we need to solve a problem, okay? Well, with Sig, I don't know how we do that, DaVinci. I don't know how we're gonna like FFI some things, right? When it comes to Rust and maybe they would just be pointers. Nah, all right. Crates.io. It's now released, and that's where probably the most stable version is. And right, so what are we gonna solve first, right? So first we're gonna solve A, B, C, D. We're gonna solve a particular architectural conundrum, I think. Okay, and it's gonna be like this: we have some input of some type value. Unless we make a big ass enum for everything. That would be annoying. Let's no. Bleh. Let's not do that. We have value going into something, okay? And I'm going to tell you why this is a problem, because I've invented a situation that is also a problem. What a human thing to do, right? So the value comes in depending on, oh, that's supposed to be a question mark, not a dead frog. Whoops. Why is this so difficult? Just draw a fucking question mark. Whoop. Close enough, right? Something's going to happen here and different types is going to come out of here, okay? Now, that doesn't sound so difficult, you might say, but that's just an indication that you don't know anything and you're not as good as I am. So this is what we're going to have to solve first, right? But wait, there is more. Not only do we have value go in somewhere, but rather this thing is supposed to do something with the value that is also uniform, right? So we're going to have the same functionality apply to these different values. They're just going somewhere else, right? So this T1 becomes a state 1, and this one becomes a state 2. But remember, if you can, if you will, if you wish, the anathema is not allowing you to send values across thread boundaries because that would make it a lot more expensive to run. Not financially expensive, but you know, well, I guess somehow maybe that too. Right? Okay. Yeah, keeping an eye on chat. So we're adding the that's cool. Anyway, we're adding the thing here, and then these things should now be submitted, right, or emitted, right? No, that's not how it goes, right? It goes here to emit, right? So we're gonna emit this into S1. Oh, whoops. Can I like really zoom in here? Delete this thing, and then we write emit, and then we zoom out, and then, no, that did not help the situation. Okay. Anyway, so this thing happens over here too, right? And whoops, I fear I have lost my audience. They are now crazy and confused. There we go, right? Excalibur. No, Excalibur is still buggy on Firefox and it infuriates me. Let me show you. Let me go to excalibur.com and show you how this is aggravating me, right? So that's okay. Let's try to do that's kind of what we're doing, but let's start again, right? So we have some kind of input whip, and we had a little bendy boy there. There we go, right? And what do we have here? We had a question mark. And that's supposed to output. Okay, this is working surprisingly well. And wait a sec. Undo. Right, and you can go there. Whoop. Attach. Attach, damn it. Attach. There we go, right. So these are all different types. And whoop, T1. Not to be confused with some kind of internet connection. Do people still talk about T1, 2, and 3? Is that a thing? I remember this being talked about in the olden days. Anyway, maybe that's a colloquial thing. I don't know. Anyway, so from here we're gonna emit these different types, and this is what you can obviously, using your immensely powerful brain, you can see how this is a problem, right? And then we're gonna emit here. There we go, right? Okay. So what do we do? Right. So as part of this thing, we have to transform values. So transform values into this type, and what we're getting here from this bendy boy is a value, right? That's not just any value. That is any value. It is a. Don't be so vicious. There's a value. That's a JSON value. That's what that is, right? So we have a JSON value. We're gonna look at it like whoop, and then we're gonna pass that on to the corresponding transformer, which is then gonna emit this thing, right? I guess what we could do. What are we doing? I'm just telling you guys. All right, we're drawing lines and Excalibur. Maybe they fixed it. No. Every other click is a miss, right? I am. Ha! The criminal himself has appeared. How do you plead? You've missed the conversation, Enrico, and now you're in for a treat. Okay, so what we not guilty. That's exactly what guilty people say, right? So before we condemn you to a life of rust or whatever punishment it is, there is no Enrico. What did you do, rebel? You're not supposed to remove people. Have you unlived him? What a stupid phrase. Just say murder like a normal person. Okay, anyway. But it's a trigger word. Well, murder is generally considered bad. Okay, don't try to make it nice and normal. Shut up. Okay, so value goes in, transform will transform. But what we could do is we could have a transformation context on the transformer. And then these can be part of a big match statement, couldn't they? Right? So let's do this up in code, right? So we're trying to leverage, not fight, the type system here, okay? So we start off with a trait called transform, and it's gonna have an output. It's gonna have a function called transform that takes a self, probably, and then it's going to perform the unalive. Is that we can't go about saying kill people in front of children. My kid said she was going to kill me the other day. It was not a problem for her to say that. I don't know what you guys are griping about. Output, something like that, right? But this is kind of not what we want to do. So this thing is something else, right? That has a transformation output. So we start off with an A, and then a B, and then we're going to import something else. Well, for A and for B. We have different outputs. Bool, shall we? Perhaps have that. And we're supposed to take a value as our input. We don't have to take a value because that's uniform. So here we're just going to return true because that's how I roll. I mean, I don't know how I roll. It was a long time since I rolled anywhere, unless you think about cars. But when people say I roll, I kind of imagine that you're going downhill a bit, right? Did you guys know that there's a sport? Is it in Wales where you roll down a hill? A sport in Wales where you roll down a hill? I think this exists. Cooper's Hill cheese rolling and wake. There you go, right? So apparently this thing is people rolling down a hill after a cheese wheel. It looks like you need more clothes on, though. I do celebrate the human body here falling down a hill. But don't you feel like this is what you want to do with your day? I feel like she's cheating a little bit. She's trying to not look at that person go. Oh my goodness. All right. Anyway, Wales, everybody. Wales. Okay. Not like Spain, where you'd be like, what are we gonna do? I don't know. Do you have a goat? Yeah. Should we try to throw it off the church tower? All right. Can't see any problem with that. See those ducks? Yeah. How about we rip the head of those? Okay. We do this as part of a race with boats. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, it's all good. Sport, more like crazy event, and chasing a ball with your feet is not, right? Or hands, or having a sport called football where you run carrying the ball in your armpit. I think we're looking for sanity in the wrong places here, okay? What the engine? I just say what the but what the engine works too. I think that's kind of a more approachable conversation. We don't have to use cuss words, right? Oh yeah. Oh, but don't even get me started on Germany, right? You know, I've been afraid once in my life when I've been traveling alone, right? So generally traveling alone in Europe is pretty safe when you're a sweaty old man. But in Germany, I was genuinely afraid. I hadn't slept for a very long time, and I was waiting for some people to cross over from Denmark into Germany. So I was coming from the UK, they were coming from Denmark. We were all going to meet up in Germany. We were supposed to camp somewhere, but none of us knew anything about this place, right? So I arrived there like a day earlier than everyone else. So I tried to find the campsite, and it's in this small road into like a wooden clearing. You can barely drive there. I'm on a motorbike, not a car, and I just can't find the place. But I find this little inn to the side of not like the side of the road, like a motel kind of thing. No, this is like an inn in the middle of the woods, right? Big wooden log cabin kind of thing, right? So I decided I'm not gonna find this camping ground. I'm just gonna go to this inn and sleep there. I park up, I walk in, and everyone's sitting at like the bar and the whatever, not restaurant. It's not even a restaurant. Sitting there. They just turn quiet and look at me, and everyone looks gnarly as right? Like these people look like they've been spending the last 48 hours toiling in a field of human bones, right? And I woke up to the bar and I said, like, do you have a free room? Do you have any availability? And the very lovely lady behind the bar goes, yes. And she gives me a key, and I lock the door, convinced that these people will eat me during the night, okay? All right. When I woke up the next day and I was no longer delusional from lack of sleep, it was really lovely and the place looked really nice. It was like a really pleasant big log cabin that made into an inn, right? But when I turned up there late and completely sleep deprived, man, I was like, man, I'm genuinely gonna I'm locking the door because I'm concerned, right? This is where people disappear, right? All right. Do I have anything for Switzerland? Right? Do you guys feel Swiss? No. I don't have anything to say about Swiss culture. Well, yeah, your cheese museum sucked. Okay, I went to Gruyere. It wasn't a cheese museum; it was the cheese factory. I went to Gruyere. I love Gruyere cheese. Right? It's great. And it's where the H.R. Giger Museum is, right? If you haven't seen, or Geiger, right? If you haven't seen his art, you have lost out. But if you're under 18, you should probably not go and look it up, right? This is the guy who designed Alien and Species and like the monsters in these films, right? Which are quite iconic. Again, if you don't know that, well, you're a Philistine. Anyway, so I went there, love the museum, or the Geiger Museum. I've been there a couple of times. Switzerland is lovely and it's so picturesque, right? If like you go there and everything just looks like a freaking postcard. There's no point in taking the pictures because it's going to be too bright and sunny and you suck. Don't worry about it. But it looks like a postcard. It's really nice. And the museum is really nice too. But the cheese factory was so disappointing. It was like, so if you don't know Gruyere, it's a very well-known cheese, right? So you'd imagine that there's quite a lot of culture around this and so on. But it was expensive and the cheese was bad. Okay, that's how I remember it. Anyway, that's Switzerland. Where are you from? Let me know where you're from and how I can offend your country. But isn't Deadpool kind of unalive? Isn't he basically a zombie, right? Yeah, it's wild. Should have called up ModProg back then. I didn't know ModProg. This is like 2005 or whatever, right? No, I can't go to Australia because you die from drop bears and spiders, right? The moment you step off the plane, you have to look up the eucalyptus trees. You're dead if you're not a native. But then on a more somber note, as I mentioned briefly in passing in a PM to Caleb, the Australian privacy laws are a little bit insane. And one of the reasons Australia is not that tantalizing, that and everything's trying to kill you, but you know, skill issue. You can only say that because you survived, okay? You survived the drop bear apocalypse. Okay, right. But now since no one wants to mention what country they're from, so I can tear into it and offend your culture, I guess we just continue with the programming. If you take this too seriously, you need to go and sort yourself out and maybe go and touch some grass, right? Okay, so we're gonna transform some output. That's like, but you can say that. You can offend anyone and then just say, don't take things seriously, okay? It's on you, right? You're offended. There you go, right? You're from South Africa. Oh, dude, no, you rip yourself apart, right? All I have to say is like, now, and Joburg, and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, let's not shine a light on that one, right? Anyway, what was the last time I had an interaction in meat space with a South African? Yeah, they've all been lovely though, so I can't really say anything about that. In all earnest, right? Is that offensive calling South African Saffers, right? That's kind of how I've heard it referred to them, right? But I used an offensive term once without knowing it was offensive, and I did this in public. And the establishment we were in, again, all quiet, all eyes on me, and the dude goes, "Dude, you cannot say that word. That is really offensive." And I was like, "Whoops, I didn't know. I'm so sorry." Okay. Woo. All right. Anyway, Balata, what's that, Joey? Never heard of it. You can't shine light on it, too much load shedding. I work with South Africans more or less daily. What about Elon? Well, Elon is not a country or a person, so I don't know. They call themselves Saffers. That's what people who call themselves. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I've heard other terms for South Africans. Australians and New Zealanders have always been Antipodeans to me. British have been limeys or pommies. But yeah. All right. What will you do in Maine? Maybe build a farm. Take it easy. I do know the word, and I don't think anyone in my orbit would use that word, Barry. Yeah, no, that would not go down around me. Okay, that would not happen. So no, that's safe. That's safe. I've heard the term Dutchies. All right. For those who don't know anything about South Africa, there's a large original Dutch population living there now. Okay, so before we get into anything entirely too insane, let's see if we can make this thing happen, right? So we're going to have this transform thing, right? So we have a transform or something function, and we are going to have some input here. Whoops. Let's have an enum called value, and it's either a bool or a number. And then our transform can take a value, right? But we don't have to care about that for now. We don't have to care about that for now. Now, here's the thing. We can't return anything from this function because we have different types branching out, right? I'm trying to Caleb, but no one wants to tell me where they're from. You can't just give me the random name of a country, right? You have to be from there. Otherwise, you're not going to be offended, are you? All right. I recently went to Sweden, okay? That was quite offensive. All right. Are you Swedish? Do you feel offended? Actually, I had a lovely time there. It's a great country. Let's see if we can do... I'm convinced Marek has more options here than I do. Oh, hang on. No, it's not text align. It's alignment. There we go. Yeah. Distribution. There we go, right? You're from Cape Town. Oh, man. That's just like one step away. I'm kidding. I used to work with the guy from Botswana. And he said that Botswana is... I think he said it wasn't quite South Africa. I'm not quite sure what's going on. My knowledge of geography kind of ends outside of Germany. Name those boxes of yours in countries. What would this be? This could be Denmark. Then we could have... where are you from? Slovenia? We can have Greece here. Okay, there we go, right? Yeah, so it's not quite South Africa, but I think in his world, everyone just called him South African, right? You're from Greece. Congratulations. You fuckers invented everything. All right. Okay. Let's see. Which includes politics. Thanks a lot. Okay. You can have that one back. Look, we invented democracy. Yeah, that's working out great. Thank you. All hail Plato. Travis and is from South Africa. They invented countries. They did. They'd be like, that farm of yours is pretty big. Yeah. 3 billion acres. It's mine now, and we're going to call it a country. How does that work? Well, we haven't invented concept of ownership yet, and I just did. So, you know. I brought a flag. Okay, something input value. I'm going to match on the input, and if the input is... no, maybe... Trevor, no. Nah, you guys think I know. Do you think I know anyone? I don't. I don't know who anyone... I mentioned this the other day. I can't name a single song by Taylor Swift. Right? I don't know who anyone is on Twitch, on YouTube, in real life, in movies. I know movie actors from like the 80s, the 90s, and that's it. Like this is the end of my knowledge. He had a book. Look, I have many books. Doesn't make me funny. No, I hope you're not in charge of economy, Glintos. Whoa, sick burn, sorry. Oh, it's a while ago now. I lived in Spain in 2008, man. I've seen the no, wait, it wasn't in 2008. I lived where was it in 2008 when the Spanish economy crashed though? But I moved to Spain a couple of years later, and you could definitely tell that the economy was... But the insane thing was that people tried to keep up appearances, right? So I was hanging out with this guy named Jose because reasons. And me and Jose were dealing drugs on a street corner. And he said to me, no, he was friends with a girl, or he was dating a girl. Oh, I got to find a story about this. Okay, I'll tell you this story though. Jose was a dude, right? And he was dating this Norwegian woman, right? They were both lovely people, and I enjoyed hanging out with them, right? But he told me that Spain has like two sides, and we saw this, right? The people took out like extensive loans to buy expensive cars to kind of keep up appearance and stuff. And I thought that was kind of insane. But that's not the funny story about Jose. And Jose, if you ever watch this, you're a good dude though, right? Don't worry about it. His girlfriend complain because he was about to finish school, and she was working, and they were struggling a bit financially. And she was complaining a bit about this to Jose's dad. And Jose's dad said to her, instead of telling his son to get a job, he said, maybe you should get a second job. Oh, that's funny. So the consensus was that Jose could do whatever he wanted to. And if they didn't have enough money, maybe his girlfriend should get done the job. They lived in a flat in central Valencia without air condition. If you have never been there or in a warm place without AC, you don't know true pain. Man, imagine that, right? How did I get to cartel Twitch? I don't know. What? Wait, Trevor Noah? No, I don't know who this is. Maybe he looks familiar, but again, you guys gotta remember that I'm face blind, right? You know what I'm afraid of? I'm afraid that Jose Masses, right? I like that you included the accent over the E as well, right? For Jose, right? Por Jose. The oh, I see that cartel part, right? What was I talking about, right? I don't freaking remember. But no, it was insane though. But they were both lovely people. But we must have looked like the biggest douchebags in the eyes of Jose and his girlfriend, because we were saving money, right? And so we were saving money, and we had issues with the bank, right? Because it costs a lot of money to take out money, right? When you go to an ATM or a hole in the wall, and you have a bank card with a bank in another country, every time you withdraw money, you pay fees, right? So when we were to go and withdraw money, we would take out extra money that we were gonna save, right? So we wouldn't go and make a withdrawal for 10 euros or whatever, right? And when using the card in the shop also incurred an exchange fee, right? So to us, it made sense to take out money in large quantities every time we went to make a withdrawal, right? And we just grabbed a jar, basically like a fishbowl, and we would just throw the money into the fishbowl, right? So we go and take our money, put the money into the fishbowl, and take the money from the fishbowl to go and do grocery shopping and all this thing. But we were also saving up for a car. But so it looked like to people who came to our house, like we just had a random jar with thousands of euros sitting in the living room. Like, oh no, this is our tip jar, or we just casually have this, right? No, that was all our savings, right? That was in the jar, but it looked so casual in the bookcase, just sitting there, right? So to Jose and his girlfriend, when they came to visit, we must have looked like the biggest assholes ever, right? Because we just had a jar of money sitting around. Oh, Margaret, fetch the money jar. The peasants are revolting again. We have to pay them off. They're urinating on the golf course again. All right. Statement piece. Yeah. But I didn't care, right? I mean, we didn't like have lots of people over or anything like that. There was mostly like family and such that came over. So it's not like having money was an issue, right? Out there, right? I know, what a complete D-bag, right? Okay, so we're gonna match on the input. And if it's a bully boy, then we're gonna do a.transform. And here's where it gets a little bit quirky. So we're gonna get this as an input and use an input. There we go. And then b.transform input, right? And then we want to take this input and we're going to have an emitter here. That's just a unit because we don't want to do anything specific. You know what? We're going to just struct. Oh, I don't care enough about that, right? Not having money is on it. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, right? If you don't have any money, you just stop being poor. It's a perfect solution. I got that from the video of the Ross guy. I finally dove into. We're not gonna talk about this, but I finally dove into the whole stop killing games things because of some comments people made to me yesterday. I looked into it and he made that joke in his video, and I thought it was really funny. Also, I really like him. He was a good egg. It's a good egg. What's this code we're looking at? Is this some sort of wizardry explanation? No, we're gonna make at some point, we're gonna make a magic virtual machine and that processes magic commands. Thanks, courtesy of Rebel, because I think it's a fun idea, right? So we're gonna do that. But before we do that, we're gonna do a little bit of this thing because Enrico, I didn't want to say this when you were here because I don't want to inflate your ego and draw attention away from me and my frail ego. Instead, I want to highlight the fact that I had a great idea, Enrico, that we're gonna make some kind of channel point redemption that puts the streaming into like focus mode for a little bit, right? Now, you might not be able to grasp this idea because you don't have my advanced intellect, but I had this idea out of the blue, so I'm gonna build this, and to do this, I'm going to. I know I am so good for having this idea, right? I don't even know where it came from, right? My inspiration is like the world around me, trust the process, and that. So anyway, I decided to do that. But to do this, I need to be able to take input in the shape of a uniform value that we get from cert. Come on, throat. In the shape of a value enum that we get from Surdy, or rather we get this from Twitch. I'm going to process this thing, but rather than building something bespoke for this, I'm speaking Italian for those of you who can't understand, right? I'm making a bespoke, instead of making a bespoke solution for this, we're making a uniform solution for this where anyone, this is going to be great, anyone who wants to build Twitch components can just tap into this, right? So in Anathema, you'll have a struct my component. You'll implement component for my component. And then you just have to do a couple of things, right? On mount, you have to tell the something that you want chat messages, right? On unmount, you tell something that you, no longer want chat messages. And on message, this is the key part, right? Here, we're gonna have your state be a chat message, which is a chat message state, right? And then on message, we are just gonna say message dot into, and voila, you now have a chat message, right? Super simple. And you can now write your template around this as you want, meaning you really only have to do set up BunnyBot, which we might rename. We definitely have to rename Binky because someone decided that they were going to blockchain all over it. And I've waited. When I went to publish it, their project had been published for 10 days. 10 days because I didn't want to name squat. What a tool I am. All right. Anyway. So you'll be able to call message into and you get that. So it's very little effort on your behalf to make this work, right? You can do this part and then you just write a template around the message, the chat message state. Man, brain just went boo. So yeah, super easy, super simple. Anyone can do it and you'll be able to get all the Twitch stuff, right? So you have to set up BunnyBot to be able to distribute messages to your applications because obviously, and then after that, you're done. You just say, I want this, I want chat messages, I want followers, I want subscribers, I want all the gorgeous things that Twitch has to offer and then some, right? Someone made a Vault Bitcoin. Man, we're gonna fucking riot now, Vault Bit. That's outrageous. Why? Why would they do Don't know you can set a variable to be a unit. Yes. A unit, I talked about this some streams ago, so I won't regurgitate that again. But a unit is a type and a value. That's the only thing in Rust where you can do this, right? You can't do, shut up, internet. You can't do this with anything else, right? You can't do this, right? That doesn't work. And you can't do that. That doesn't work. But you can do it with the units. That does indeed work. Magic. Right. But anyway. Yeah, I can't wait to scam all of you out of money through some disgusting crypto scam. Could we please do that? And I'll be like, I promise you, I will, like, I'm invested in this. You guys have to invest in this too. And then some weeks later, when you do, it'd be like, well, I had to sell some of it because my mansion was on fire. Figuratively speaking, it was so out of date. I had to update the decor, and that cost those millions of dollars that I sort of accidentally did the pump and dump to get. But believe in this coin, even if I'm not doing that, because I already got your money now, you sucker. Right? Or does this not work when you're being honest about it up front? Being cynical and poor rules. Is Rust not anyone can do it? Well, okay, you have to be a masochistic incel to do it. But if you tick those boxes, which, let's be honest, you guys are all in chat, I'm here, I feel like we have a kinship there, right? You know my wife is a body pillow, right? So it's kind of not a problem, right? Now, if you do go outside and you have friends in the real world, I mean, you can maybe seek some solace in that, but fluff coin sounds like something you pay someone who works in the prawn industry, okay? Not on board. Anyway, because I do it for free. I did ask my wife if she thought I would be, if it was okay if I did porn, and she just laughed at me. I have no idea why. So, cult leader it is. Anyway, exactly. Friends in meat space, you must be kidding. Okay, now calling transform, why is this not working? We could read the error message, but if you look at the code, you can kind of understand why it's not working. What is the output of this? Everything in Rust bar some odd outliers that we don't care about mentioning here, like let bindings, are expressions, right? Which means when you do something like this, it actually returns something. I can do this, 1 U32 and 2 and value is, okay? I can do this and now shut up. There we go, right? Now we have a U32 here, okay? That's great. So if I do this then, what does a transform return? Well, a transform returns a Boolean value. Cool, so this is now a Boolean value, right? Is maybe true, right? But B transform doesn't return a Boolean value. It returns a U32. What are we going to do, right? We can't have what freaking type is this, right? We don't know. I mean, the LSP is going to guess bool. Wairu, if you're here, see, this is what LSP do when they shit the bed. They're like, oh yeah, it's a Boolean value. Why? Because it's going to evaluate this and be like, oh yeah, that's definitely a Boolean value, right? And then it's done. It can't do anything from here, right? Enum, yes and no. Yes, enum is what we're getting in, but no, that's not what we want to get out, right? Because if we go back to my terrible example where we want to get chat messages, that would mean that we won't get chat messages. We would get this weird, massive enum that we would have to unpack, and that is just uncomfortable. Cornstar. I feel like we could riff on that joke for a bit if I had an imagination, right? The plot must always contain Rust somehow. Always. If it doesn't, then why is it even there in the first place? What are you programming? So this is what I'm solving, right? A particular input, a generic input, well, it's not generic, a single type input gonna get transformed to different outputs, and these different outputs has to be sent through an emitter. So we have the emitter will be reasonably simple. Okay. Yes, the emitter is a non-issue. As a matter of fact, we can take a quick look at the emitter in the demo. We probably have an emitter, right? Emitter is a builder emitter, right? Like that. And what can the emitter do? Let's go over here instead where we get one and look at this thing, right? We can emit, unsurprisingly, but we can emit any type. Any type that is implementing sensing and static can be emitted. So this guy doesn't really care what we do, right? So that and that's where we're gonna go, right? We have to get from here, which is the function we're kind of messing around with, something, right? Into different types. I named them after countries because people felt like that was the right thing to do. Did not have the desired outcome. But yeah, you can always return a blueprint that can be used to make a type. You could, but that's kind of describing our input. So that is what happens before we get here. That is what has happened here. This is the metaphorical blueprint, right? Use TypeScript or JavaScript for a day and you should easily see why LSPs are a mistake. I think it's really impressive that someone is building an LSP for AML. That just blew my mind. And unrelated, I'm gonna try to accommodate their work a little bit by allowing the runtime to output LSP information. Thank you guys for the follow, by the way. So yeah, so emitting is a non-issue. So our emitter that we have here, let's do this. Let's cargo add anathema just so we have it there, and then we're gonna say that our emitter here is our input, and whoop, there we go. So what we could do here is our transform is going to have an output that has some constraint. It's send, it is, you know it is send, it is sync, and it is static, right? And now we can just say emitter.emit this, okay? Much better. Wait, what do you want from me? Oh yeah, of course. And we need to have a component ID, right? So a destination, actually that's going to be a widget ID this time, okay? Because we're a little bit wild in this regard, right? That the destination is who are we sending this to? Why are you not working? Yeah, we said that this thing is supposed to have some kind of an input, right? Well, let's make a brief change here. And we're going to do that here. I'll change that to that. Whoop. Right, there we go. Perfect. Expected bool. No. Well, so yes and no. We have to look at the outer input. That's why we're going to do this, okay? You might think that this is wrong, but you're just young and impressionable, right? This is the right thing to do. And then we're going to emit 2. No, all right, emit. Try emit. That's what we're doing, right? Try emit. Because we don't know the type or anything here, right? Oh, good grief, you are needy. Copy and clone. Oh, whoever made this language, right? Good news is that the headache is gone and we can definitely keep going. How far have we gone? Too far. We've gone too far, okay? Anyway, so try emit will then emit the output. So this thing could actually work, right? Wait, did I just solve this? No, I didn't. There's a couple of things that we need to do for this, but that is a non-issue. Is Coding Jesus a good source of programming info? No. Do you know what's a good source of programming info? A book. A book is a good source of programming info. Honestly, in less hyperbolic terms, I have no idea. I don't watch his content. I only heard of him recently from watching a video where he was criticizing Pirate Software's coding skills. I think the oh god damn the SIG book thing that Christoph showed me was wild. What a gross thing to do. Why do people try to be openly dishonest and capitalize on it, right? Like you can make a mistake and capitalize on that. That can happen, right? I might invent toggle coin under the guise of doing something good for the world, right? Maybe I do, and then I make a mistake. Maybe I actually believe in it, right? I don't, but maybe I invented it. I believed in it, and now 5 years down the line, we will actually invent toggle coin in a desperate attempt to save programming or bunnies or some natural resource, and then someone will find this clip where I say I don't believe in it and play that back, right? But anyway, long and short of it is, right, I might do something and think that I'm doing the right thing and make a mistake. That can happen, right? And that's a possibility. But getting AI output books and selling them on Amazon in a language that you clearly don't understand, that's just disingenuous. There's no, but I just wanted to write a book and do something good for the world. No, you wanted to capitalize on a new language and you wanted to capitalize on a community. You are filthy scum. Rebel scum. Not you though, Decibel. Yeah, that's because SIG is so new. And I would say if there's an actual good book written for SIG, that will most likely be endorsed by the community. And you probably don't have to look far to find that. So, you know, those are called organic books. I can just imagine like a squishy book with human skin as the cover. We are in a very dark place this morning, aren't we? Anyway, they're some kind of like Necronomicon sort of artifact, right? Something straight out of Cthulhu, right? H.P. Lovecraft, some kind of Lovecraftian tome. Okay, there you go. Book made of compost. Man, you took that somewhere more wholesome, right? Okay, let's continue with this thing now, shall we? Well, I'm having way too much fun, and you guys are way too fun. So let's just make this less fun, right? So really, it's not the input that we're looking at. We're gonna look at some kind of matching string. I don't know what we're gonna call this. We call this an identifier, or ident for short, because, you know, we're all cool programmers here, right? We know our idents and, you know, stuff. So that can't be there because we can't return anything from there. That would be a savage thing to do. We're gonna match in the ident, and if the ident is booly, then we're gonna do this thing, right? And if it's numpty, then we're gonna do the other thing, right? But that was not really the problem that needed solving here. I just invented a problem so I could solve it. How about that, right? The straw man problem. Incompatible types. You stop that. What do you return then? Oh, a result. Panic. Oh, you know what? None. And then we just say okay. Ha, skill issue? Think so. What? Skill issue? Oh yeah, semicolons. Need those in this language, right? You still have your crypto? Well, you should convert it all to our toggle coin though, right? Yeah, shut it down, mate. Shut it down. Break free of the yolk of the egg. Right, that was not the same yolk. Anyway, so if we get these things, we have to do the transformation and we have to send that. But here's the thing. We need to know who the recipient are of these things. So we need to get recipients here from subscribers. New, and then we need to say recipients is subs.get ident, and then we need to pass that in here as well, right? Like this. And if recipients is empty, wow, that's some amazing spelling, then return, right? Man, I think we just solved it, all right? We just solved it. I did buy some crypto at one point. I broke even. I'm always going to be mid. There you go. You don't need any context to that. Let's just take it from me. I'm gonna be mid for the rest of my life, right? Now, I always do seem to land in the middle of whatever I do. I don't win big and I don't lose a lot either, right? Hella mid. So yeah, hella mid. Let's do it. All right. So I think we've solved the problem here. We're gonna have things that are interested in these things. We're gonna get recipients, and then we're gonna transform the data and send it. That's it, right? Mid Rust programmer, you shut your filthy mouth, you do, right? I will show you what I think of you, you shit. There you go, take that. Okay, so let's see what we're gonna do. We're gonna translate this to Oh no, I accidentally made you VIP instead. Damn it! Foiled again by my terrible typing. Such a toxic streamer. Get VIP, dick. Alright. Anyway, wait, VIP? Alright, never mind. Yeah, it's all good. So, we just have to actually make this a thing now. For this to work. But the problems we have to solve from this on are kind of simple. A fate worse than death. Being VIP. But what did you do with that? I was VIP in a Twitch channel. So, dude. I don't know how to tell you this, but and your mom. Anyway. So yeah. Okay. What's let's write this now. Yeah, you know what? As a streamer, you can troll your viewers by enabling and disabling mod view for them, right? You can just mod someone and then unmod them and just keep doing this, right? So streamers can troll the viewers quite a bit. Okay, should we implement this now before we lose momentum entirely? All right, and we go back to talking about your mansion. So what do we need for this? We need to make a library. We need to add Anathema. We need to add Bunnybot. And we need to make these transformers and subscribers. Oh yeah, and we need a way to send things into here. Oh yeah, let's gaslight people as well in the process. That's a really good idea. We will do that. I think we shall do that. Part of our Become Better Humans initiative. Okay. We will become more caring and loving by simply destroying and hating people who don't agree with us. Okay. Okay. So the subscriber thing should just be a hash map. As simple as that. So on the inside, we just keep the widget ID in a collection that we can retain from. These are going to be very small, so it's a non-issue. That's perfect, Banky. Love it. So we can add, remove from the subscribers, and then we send the subscribers with the transformer. So it doesn't really transform, but it can transform. But then we try to emit the transformed output, so it does transform. So it becomes a transformer nonetheless. I think we're good, right? I think we're good. Now all this has to operate with an agent, so we need Binky too. Okay, I think I've now pieced all this software together, right? We have two separate agents that converge into one for Twitch data, one for component data. We map these into one, and we're going to look at those messages, either it's Twitch data or component wanting something, and then we deal respectively with that. We can have the subscribers in there. So we build this as like one unit that has mutable access to self. We can get subscribers in and out, and we can do this with the transform stuff. We just have to build these things up. But do we need? We don't need anything here, right? This self can go away. We don't need that. I don't think. unless we're gonna keep some kind of state here. Why would we do that? You know what? Okay, we have one more jump to make. We need to be able to get backlogs, right? So we can on mount request a backlog too. I think we've just designed this whole thing now. Should we? Okay, wait. What does the backlog look like? Okay, so we need a generic struct here that isn't generic in that sense. Something that has a backlog of messages. Right? We'll use a vector queue instead but we're not going to type that up because I am way too lazy for that. So it has a backlog and it has a transformer. Like that. Oh, it's called something else now. Yeah, look at that. And then the imbol, the has backlog. Like so. It does something. It needs to be mutable. This logic is wrong now. This is wrong. So we're going to have recipients here. And then we're going to... We're not going to have... so this thing will be... Okay, so we'll start off here. We'll have chat being has backlog. New. And we pass in the transformer, right? And a, right? So this will be transformer T right? Yes, it's right. It's all right. All right, all right. It's all right. What do you want there? Then I haven't done my thing, have I? Oh, I goofed up. Okay. Where was I? So we're gonna have a new function where we add the transform, we have the backlog, and then here we get like an input of a message value t output and set the backlog dot push value, and then here we'll have a recipient, which is a slice of widget, widget ID. Yeah, you're with me. And then for recipient in recipients, well, it also needs an emitter. We say emitter.try emit, not try vomit, the recipient and the value. No. The value should be self.transformer.transform. Oh shit, oh, look at that biscuit. Okay, that's supposed to be a value. And then we clone that because we have to. Huh. Yeah. That solves everything. Do you guys agree?
Of course we do.
Excellent. I love to hear those words. So we can now build this entire thing. So you'll be able. I'm gonna show you if I can put this together soon enough. I'm gonna show you how we can build insanely quickly. We can build like Twitch things. We're gonna squirt out Twitch biscuits here. Ugh, that's a graphical image. I bought a nail gun, and oh my god, what a life changer that was. If you don't have a nail gun, maybe you need one, right? Unrelated. Oh, don't worry, Barry. I'm just faking it, right? I keep telling everyone over and over again, all stream, every stream. Streamers don't know shit, right? We just make it up. Okay. Our input is going to be... We're experts in the same way that chat is doctors, right? Let's... Are they tearing down the house up there? What are you guys doing? Are you making me tea? It was a very slim chance they would say yes to that. It's Pepper, how you doing? Oh, 41. You got a big stream going now. Nice to see. Nice to see. How you doing, buddy? Did you... I was thinking about your comment on the mutability thing, but I didn't want a backseat because, I know the pain when people do that. But if you do want to talk about that code, if you want to poke at it, then I'm probably interested, right? Cerebros, thank you for the raid. Welcome, Raiders. Double raid. All right. Are they gonna make an R-rated movie out of that? Get 200 new gamblers. We don't have 200 viewers, and I've uninstalled Balatro. Okay, so let me tell you guys what. Well, you can't stop me because it's my stream. I'm gonna tell you guys what we just did here. Right, we took a problem where when you have a strongly typed language like Rust, you can't just have an enum matching over something and returning a value that's a different type. Now, the natural thought here is that use an enum, but that would be wrong because we're not going to do that. That would just bring us back to where we started. We're getting an enum in, we're doing some transformation with this thing into another type, and then we're going to send that type somewhere, right? So we just solved that with a bunch of other things. So the goal of what we have here, this is kind of like a draft where we're going to go and build this now. And this will let you build a Twitch chat in 10 minutes, right? You just have to get the correct key. And it's not just Twitch chat. You'll be able to build like anything. And I'm going to show you this. It's going to be amazing, right? That's also fine though, Pepper, to do that. Message passing is also a thing, right? Hello, intercoding. Okay, let me do this. Let me take Hoppy Days over here. All right, that's what it says on this mug. This is my kid's mug. Let me go and fill. I feel like I had to say that, but I'm not going to defend having this hat in the background. Okay, that's not my kid's. That's mine now. But I will tell you that this cup is my kid's. All right, let me continue the theft of the mug and go and put some tea in this thing. Then we're going to write this up as an actual program. It's going to be fast. It's going to be as smooth as my brain. It's going to be amazing. I'll be right back. All right. Okay. That's why you are all lovely people. But okay. We're going to time this. Muted? I don't think so. All right. Restarting. Waiting for the tea. 3 minutes. Then we get some tea. I always have to make up excuses. I just reading random comments now. All right. Insert my code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I just read my code out loud? Oh no. What a fool. Finishing system update. Okay, install your spyware then. Where are we with this thing? Okay, we have 2 minutes left. Then we're gonna. Okay, so we need to come up with a name for this thing. I've started this like a few times. We call it like stream control, but that's not what this is. That's something else. So we're not gonna call it that. Maybe it's just Twitch data or Twitch components or something like that would do, wouldn't it? Twitch. Twitch component. That'll be fine. That would be fine. Although it's not really Twitch components, it's data from Twitch. But we can't call it Twitch API because that's too vague. I want to hear your best terrible suggestions now. What do we call this thing that maps Twitch data to components, but it doesn't actually provide the components itself, only the state and the data? It's a lot, isn't it? Maybe what we could send is the transformer itself along with the data. I'm still gonna have to clone the data. Gross. Twitch things, that's good and terrible. Like it. Oh god, I'm blind. Oh yeah, 50 seconds. And hello is not a great name though. But hello to you. How you doing? When we got 30 seconds left, I will leave and come back with a cup of tea. 40 seconds. App booster. App optimization is recommended. No, I don't want that. Ooh, email. Stream element sponsorship. Rise of King. Okay. Delete. Yes. Yahoo. Okay, yeah, that's fine. All right, tea time. Ow. Is it time for music and code? I think so. Let's find a little ditty to play while we do this. We'll take something non-intrusive that we have all heard a million times. Wait, what is this? No, we don't. What about this? There we go. How unoffensive, right? Hello, Bubbles. Oh, on YouTube, you get little crowns if you're the first or the second one. Amazing. Danheim. Okay, give me a link with the coding. All right, so I think we have all the things we need for this thing, and we are ready to build. I'm just gonna click away a few things. Oh, stop yabbering on about things. Okay. Twitch adapter was the old one. Oh, I don't like Twitch data. Hmm. No, it's not quite my cup of tea. This is my cup of tea. Okay. Look like I've been told that I look like a cult leader, but I appreciate that. I think. Are we horses now? All right, to the LLMs we go. Should we do LLM stuff here? Hang on. Twitch, not Twitch. Duck.ai. That'll do, right? Tell me a good name for a library that's programming, not where humans store their filthy books. The library should get input data from a service named Glitch, and it should translate this data into state for a GUI that's not really a GUI, but you know what I mean. And what do we call this library? Glitch state. Glitch bridge. Bridge is not too bad. State sync is rubbish. Make the name less boring. The 10-minute thing will be after we build this thing. Data juggler. I find jugglers offensive. Do apologize. Data enchanter, glitch forge. Why do all these sounds like a web 2.0 business name generator kind of thing, right? Data sorcery, not on my watch. Glitchcraft. Okay. I wonder if we do this. Give me suggestions for a game that is based on building things and using a service called Glitch a lot for its interactions. Are we gonna get Glitchcraft again? No, idiot. I want you to give me name suggestions, not name random games I have never played. Pixel Forge. It's always craft and forge in these things, right? Buildiverse. Hey, let's play Buildiverse. That's amazing. Oh. Buildiverse. Oh my god. All right. So what do we call this thing then, right? Twitch Glitch anchor. There we go. Glitch fit, man. That sounds like something you get to put on your wrist when you're out jogging. Hey, mega glitch fit. It tells me how stupid I am because I paid money for it. Glitch B plug. Now that's something you definitely want to malfunction. Why do you look so concerned? Zzz, no reason. Zzz. All right. Welcome to the Discord, Michael. Click, click, done. Twitch glitch. I mean, that's kind of a funny name, though, right? I like that. Probably a Dane. Wait, what? Okay. We're just gonna call it Twitchery for now. Twitchery. What a weird name Twitch is, right? What are you doing? A website? Okay, Twitch stuff. Twitch. Twitcheroo. It used to be called Justin TV. Yeah, but that was probably just one guy named Justin who thought of TVs, right? That is the final name. Twitch lol. Twitcher. Twitch comms. You know what? That's a good name. Twitch comms it is. And the winner is me, who came up with the name Twitch comms. Rebel, stop trying to steal my name, okay? Stop passing my suggestion off as yours, okay? And then someone just clips that part and Rebel will just have to live the rest of his life in shame, okay? You missed the H, but I'm guessing it's supposed to be. Sure. Oh, you don't like what I say? Insta ban. All right, sorry. No, that's too on the nose here, right? Okay. Well, I gotta back off a little, maybe. I feel like maybe Rebel gets a little bit upset if I keep talking to them like this. Okay, so now we're gonna implement this thing. So what is it that we actually wanted? We need to add a few dependencies, right? Anathema, and now we need to add some local dependency. Cargo and path to Binky, which is now taken on crates.io because I was too slow, because I didn't want to name squad like some sausages do. Oh, look, a crypto bro took my life. Well, it sounds like I was murdered. Bunny bot. Wait, do we have Bunny Bot or what? Yeah, we got rid of all the other stuff, right? Anyway. You get XP based on messages or something, and the crown is your position on the leaderboard. You know what? That's pretty good, Bubbles. Can I... The only thing I can do is make you a moderator or put you in timeout. So I can't reward you for your brilliance there, okay? It is a shame, but it is the way it is. Okay, so let's build this thing now, right? What are we gonna need for this thing, right? So first we can start with something simple, typing the word source. Okay, that took me 5 minutes, but then we're gonna have subscribers. These are not the Twitch subscribers. This is going to be a data structure called subscribers. And if you were some kind of a Java developer, you would have made an interface for this, but then you would have been wrong and go and sit in the corner, feel this much shame, and then you can come back in 2 minutes, right? So we're going to implement subscribers, and we're going to have some kind of storage. Now, there has to be the notion of a channel name. We've created this outside. So, I mean, not outside in the real world, but outside of this library, right? So mod subscribers. What was that button doing? Oh, it's that. Okay. Oh, we don't have no inheritance in here. Now, you can fake inheritance in Rust, but I'm not going to show you that because that's a little bit like showing a gun to a child. They're just going to look cooler than you. No other reason. Okay, so then we have our subscribers. And we need to get a name in here, right? So let's say name. No, code available. Oh, channel name? Didn't we have bunny bots in here? We do. Ah! Channel names, but not channel name. That might be a mistake. But as someone who likes mistakes, you know. All right, I just renamed it, didn't I? Idiot. All right, there we go. So we don't want just one name. We want many names, all right? Now, it is unlikely that you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of components or in here. You're more likely going to have like maybe like 2-3 components each, which means a hash map is going to be more expensive than a vector scan, right? Why? Because logic. Don't worry about it, okay? So let's just do a vec of channel names here. And attached to this thing, we're going to have a vec of widget ID, okay? There we go. It depends. Ateras, I mean, with a name like that, I feel like you're halfway there anyway, but it depends, right? You can go like the whole wife body pillow thing, or you can go with the long socks, but you don't have to, you can like mix and match. You can have like one really long sock and like a Davy Crockett hat thing going on. As long as you're obnoxious about programming to other people, that's really the only qualification, right? Okay. So let's move that there where it actually belongs. Let's bring that in from Anathema. There you go. Excommunicado, right? Hey, as long as you're a mute, you know what, Basiator? You are perhaps one of the few people who understand what Twitch is, okay? Streamers talks bullshit. I don't know what they're saying, and it doesn't matter. You're good. You are equipped to enjoy this content, okay? Alright. Everyone else is just looking for some sanity or reason, right? That is just the wrong thing to do, right? Okay. Why can't we do this? Just because I just made something up, right? So let's make this thing happen. Like struct channel. And that's going to have, it's not going to be public, it's going to be internal, okay? We don't want to leak that thing, right? So you're going to have a name, which is a channel name, unsurprisingly, and then we're going to have subs there. Again, these are not channel subscribers in the Twitch sense, but subscribers to data in this sense, right? We could have stored the backlog in here too, couldn't we? Welcome, maters, to the world of tomorrow. Oh, programming in Rust. You will die alone. Okay, let's have a vec of widget ID in here. Widget ID. So now this thing can be simply a channel with a new function where we get the name as a channel name. And that's our name. That's our subs. There we go. No, we have a vec of x, right? So the reason we have a vec of x is because it is faster to scan a vector than it is to hash and look up a key, right? So by storing a vec of vex in here, we can't make it in one contiguous block, because then we would invent some kind of linked list in there, and that would be insane, because everyone knows if you use a linked list, you have skill issue. But doing a vec of x is perfectly fine, but we're gonna make an API that looks a little bit less insane. So this thing now becomes a vec of channel, right? But it is still a vec of x under the hood, because this thing stores the name and the vector. So in memory, they take up the same amount of space, right? Okay, and then let's have a function here that is add sub, and we got a mutable reference to self, and we got a sub that is a widget ID. And we're going to have a remove sub as well, because if you can add, then you can remove. That just goes to reason. Goes to reason. You go to reason. Stands to reason. or where we had two generic parameters. But there we go, right? So by doing this, we don't have to have two generic parameters, right? In the world here, we have a straight up vec here, right? And then each entry in this vec contains its own vec of data, right? Now, if we didn't have to add and remove from the middle, it would make more sense to make a flat list. You know, contiguous memory is king and all that jazz. But since we're going to have to add and remove from here, we are going to make it a vec of x, right? And this is faster than a hash map, which could be like, you could think that a hash map would be faster here, but since they're going to be so small, if you are generally, again, remember, streamer makes shit up all the time, just like everyone in chat. If you are going to look up a small amount of values in general, or in a kernel, anyway, of truth, if you're going to do that, then a hash map could be slower if you have like less than 100 entries, give or take, right? But again, of course, you got to benchmark that. Don't be a lunatic, okay? Am I going to benchmark this? Hell no, because this is going to be fast enough. So self.subs.push a sub. All right, not a sub, a sib. Okay, now we're going to do something very, very basic here. We're going to retain. We're going to retain any existing sub that is not equal to this sub. Okay, and we're done. No, we're not, unless we dereference you. There we go. Can we write this like so? I don't think so, because it's like, yes, we could. Huh. Why not store them in a parallel array? Because an array is not something that has a dynamic size. So if we store now, you haven't been chatting in here as much, Clinton, so I don't really want to like do the sarcastic making fun thing until I know you're comfortable with that. So I'll be sensible for a second, right? The difference between an array and a vector in Rust is really that a vector is dynamically sizable, right? You might be thinking of arrays as dynamically sizable, but in Rust they are not. They are blocks of contiguous memory stored on the stack, whereas a vector is a block of contiguous memory stored in a heap. However, when that memory grows outside of its capacity, you have to find more memory and then move everything else there, right? That's how the vector works, because we want to have a variable number of channels and stuff stored in this thing, right? Channels and stuff, that's the technical stuff. That means that we are better off to use a vector in this case, right? Oh, I installed it, right? I uninstalled it, right? So the cache locality doesn't really improve if we use a vector over an array, because they're both contiguous memory. The only difference is that the vector can grow, right? Now, if you're comfortable with me making fun, I will do so next time, or not. Don't answer that. That was clear. I was just being glib and silly. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's see. Lisp machine, never. I had a Lisp once yesterday on stream. Didn't like it. Stopped doing it. What was the thing? Okay, so we can add and remove now. Super simple. Now we're going to have a public function here called add. Now we can create the channels dynamically if they don't exist, right? So that becomes just as easy. So we'll have a channel name. And we have to take it, we cannot pass a reference here because we're going to insert this, right? And then we're going to have a subscriber, right? That's going to be a widget ID. So we're going to do self.inner. And now we have to find the channel, right? Now, if this was a hash map, we could have used the entry API, but we're not going to do that. Oh yeah, it's just heads and tails and... All right, hang on. Check in Discord. Okay, I will check in Discord. All right, I'm gonna go and look in Discord. Wow, that's a massive... Thank you for sharing that with me. I'm kidding. All right, let me look at your code. Is it correct that this do not panic, build a default index, unwrap if file pointing is wrong? No, that should panic when you compile the template, right? So let me show you. Let me look at the picture first to make sure that I don't miss any vital information, which is, you know, synonymous with me. So you're saying that you're a professional Rust programmer. All you're saying, instead of storing everything in a single vector, we don't. We store this in multiple vectors. You can split the data into two parallel vectors. So when you're doing that, okay, Mr. Professional Rust programmer, see, we're starting now, but if you're not okay with it, we're gonna ease back, right? If you feel like I'm hurting your ego here, right? You can split the pattern into two vectors. Yes, you can do that, but also that's a terrible idea because what happens when you remove something, right? So let me misrepresent everything that you're saying to make myself look good. Let's take the two vectors that you speak of, okay? So here we're storing the widget ID and the actually, I have no idea how you're going to store this in two vectors, but the long and short of this is if you're going to store the widget ID in there, you also have to store the channel name or the channel ID in there, right? So you end up either having a flat list of widget IDs and channel IDs all together, or you have a widget ID plus a channel ID. Either way, if you manage to get this to work, you're going to let me use Excalibur instead, right? That's a better way to do this, right? Even if you manage to get this to work, you're going to end up ruining your life the moment you want to delete something, because all of a sudden the IDs aren't going to match, right? So in here, we're storing what are we actually storing in these two vectors, right? You only store the channel IDs. Okay, so we're saying that we have a widget ID here, widget ID plus the vec of channel IDs, right? Because they can be more than one. Okay, so in the first list we store channel ID here, right? ID 1, ID 2, ID 3. This thing is gonna be a little bit grody, isn't it, right? And that would be widget 1, for instance. And then you have widget 2 here. That's gonna store, let's say, channel ID 2 and 3. And then we have widget 3, and so on and so forth, right? And then these IDs point to the channels in here, right? So this is where the channels would be, okay? So this will be chat, maybe. That's going to be add one. This will be nonsense, which is why no one's using that one. And then we have something like channel points, maybe. Channel points. And then down here we have well-known nonsense, all right? So these numbers point into these things, right? But that means that if we ever... No, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. There we go. If we ever were to remove nonsense now, which is at 0... Yeah, okay, but what is the data here? The problem still remains, all right? There we go. Beautiful. We should probably put them here as well, would it make sense, right? So the issue here, wait, this isn't right. Can we fix this? No. Why would anyone want that? Oh my god. Broken software, clearly. Okay, there we go. If you were to remove nonsense, then you would end up shifting everything up here. So what is pointing to 1 is now effectively pointing to 2, okay? If only someone knew how to solve that problem and even made a video about it. But we're not going to care about that for now. Right? It does not panic. Do you launch it? You have the run function there. It should definitely panic if that points to an incorrect template, though. Wait, did you remember? Sorry, this is a silly question, but did you remember to save the file? Where's the video I speak of? Oh no, that's okay. Hang on, I do have a video on this thing. I shall link to said video. I don't know the URL to it, so I have to. Hi, there we go. Hi, you know this is going to be serious now. Wait, let me do that. Okay, sorry, I've started too many conversations at the same time, right? So this video explains how this is not a problem, right? If you use something called a slab or a slot map, right? But that's not it. So in a single vector, you can split the data into two parallel vectors where one stores only the channel IDs. Yeah, so that's what we do here, right? This will improve cache locality when searching stuff. It would, when you're first of all, Glintos, you're absolutely right. It would preserve cache locality when you want to access everything at the same time, right? But we would still have to do a lookup for every one of them, right? It would be either sounds good. No, we're not doing that. Okay, I am not capable of keeping this many conversations going at the same time. Yeah, and the cache that Clint is talking about is obviously the CPU cache, right? You do, well, you do and you don't. It's all right, Clint does. It's all right. So, okay, in all seriousness, if we're not being silly and making fun, yes, it makes a lot more sense because when you load something, whatever data you're gonna load from main memory, also known as maybe your RAM, right? Not maybe. When you're gonna load data from main memory, then that's gonna traverse all the caches on the CPU until it hits the registry, right? Until it hits the registry. And you don't, when you get to like the L1 cache, you don't load your one bit of data. You always load a chunk of data into the cache. And if everything is stored next to each other, then next time you're gonna go and get something, you can just read the offset in memory to that position, and you don't have to go all the way out to main memory, invalidate your L2 cache, and so on and so forth, right? But also what Address is saying, it depends on your access pattern and what you're going to access more frequently, right? All of this is really valid when you're building and designing software like this, right? If you are building something that's going to have a high frequency of change, and if you're going to do things with stuff that is next to each other, then absolutely. But in this case, we're actually going from the channel name to the subscribers, and these are already stored in memory. So this is a good access pattern. We're going to get the channel with all the widgets stored together. So we're already doing this. The way we're going to access this is always going to be based on this. This is the one that we want for its cache locality. So it wouldn't necessarily make sense to alter the layout of the data to make it faster to access the channel names, because it's the widget IDs that we care about, right? No, but you're right, Glintos. If you again, the video I'll link to explains how you get around this issue, right? Because you didn't mention that, and you don't have to mention that to me, but conversely to the rest of the people in the chat, you are saying a lot of useful things, but if someone were to take your words and go and try to build that, they would run into troubles pretty quickly, because someone would have ID. Okay, let's just type out the IDs in here, right? 1, 2, 3 as the data for this thing. And when you delete nonsense, you will shift all the data upwards, because that's how Rust vectors work. And all of a sudden, 1 is pointed to what used to be 2, and that's now 0, right? But and that's not a criticism of you, Glintos, right? We're just making conversation, right? that's what you have to, and that's what the video tells you, right? The video will tell you in a very silly fashion how you can fix this problem and still enjoy most of the cache locality benefits that you get from storing things together in memory, right? And also, that's really cool, right? Because hardcore optimization stuff can be immensely fun. Very time consuming, but if that's part of your job, that is really fun. And obviously you learn the best practices, and I can tell that you do operate at this level because you omit the things because they are basic knowledge to you. They're just not necessarily basic knowledge to the rest of the chat, right? So I respect your thinking, right? Oh my god, a streamer respecting your thinking. What has the world come to? All right, let me quickly catch up on Discord now. This part does not exist, so expect Unwrap to panic. It wouldn't panic. Let me grab your code and run this, right? It wouldn't panic until you run it, but if you do run it, let me dump your code in here. We are gonna get rid of that for a hot second. You can see that it terminated with a 101, right? I actually didn't see if yours did too. If you check your last status, if we disable the old screen, we might see a little bit more information. There you go, right? If you disable the old screen, because the old screen sets up with a different buffer to write to, and when you are done with the program, it will restore the stuff that was previously there, which could be vital build information or whatever, right? Which is why you want to use an old screen sometimes, but you do something that takes over the entire terminal, right? So you don't do something like ls and then you run htop and then you get out of here and then all this information is gone because you ran htop. Instead, htop or regular top will create, not regular top does not create an old screen, as we can see, because now this is overwritten what was here before, but htop does, so we get to come back to what we had before, right? So you have to disable this thing to find out that, right? Yeah, your suspicion is correct. Yes and no. You are right in that sense. So there are two arguments that could be made here, okay? One is, why would you intentionally write inefficient code? And the answer is because it doesn't matter, right? Why would you box something and put it on the heap, right? That might have other reasons, because you need like a stable memory position or whatever, right? Like, but why would you do that? Why would you clone something? Why would you do all these things, right? Because it is so infrequent that you're going to run into it, and it's so meaningless to do this optimization, right? That could be the answer, right? It's so meaningless to do the optimization because you're never going to run into this as the bottleneck, right? So to put things into perspective, people have over the years, as I have been streaming, commented on things like cloning and I mean, I would obviously never clone, obviously, right? Cloning things, using avoiding lifetimes and all these things, right? So people have done this over the years, and they'll be like, okay, don't do this, use a reference there and do this, do that, right? And then if you follow their code, they have these like optimizations there, and then your code follows that, and you hit a point where they're like, oh, but you're reading like 300 gigabytes from the file system before you do anything. I think that's your bottleneck. That's what you should focus on, not this micro optimization here. But at the same time, if you have things like a hot loop or whatever, then allocating could leave a significant amount of performance on the table, right? So don't be lazy with it where it matters, all right? But do feel free to not care where it doesn't, right? But there's an important thing here. If you're running on low performance, energy saving software, like a mobile device or an embedded device, and embedded device, you're not going to have as much access to the heap there, perhaps, but it depends, right? But then it matters, right? Then it does matter. Let me see. Yeah, I think I suggest that the No, I think that's down to your shell. Can you run the program and echo your last status, right? So if I do this and I do echo status, then I see that's 0, right? If I were to go to the demo, which I now change to include your code like that, and I do cargo run, and this looks fine, but if I echo the status, you can see there's 101. I don't know what shell you use, but have a look at that, okay? Oh, there we go, right? So the long and short of it is, this became way too serious, right? I've decided to not be serious, but I do feel like it's worth being serious about some things, right? When it comes to performance, you, dear viewer, are entitled to write code however you see fit, and no one should tell you what to do unless they're paying you money to do it. Then sort your shit out, right? But there is definitely value in knowing and understanding how you should organize the data for what we call cache locality, maybe. So every time the CPU misses to read something from the cache, it have to spend a lifetime going through the various levels of cache, 1, 2, 3, if that's what your CPU has, fetching it from main memory, going back up again to L1, invalidating caches on the way up, and give it to, and then add this to a CPU register. And this could in some scenario be a lifetime, right? Like, remember, the computers operate in like microseconds and nanoseconds, right? They do things really quickly. Whereas you think that blinking is fast, but blinking is what, like 100 milliseconds or whatever, right? Like blinking, right? I blink like this. That takes no time, right? 2025 is slow and absolute garbage. I love 2025. Stop year shaming. All right. I'll make you a mod. Okay. Anyway, so that tirade, by the way, was fun, and Glintos brings up some very valid point. Can I, for the sake of conversation, say that we don't have to care here that much, though? You're back from school. Go back to school. What are you doing here? Okay, I'm telling your mom. Mom! No, wait, that was my mom, and she's not here. Okay, we're gonna iter and find. What are we finding? We're gonna find the channel name. So let's do channel. We can't do that. Channel name. I guess we could just call you name then, right? Oh, good grief, no. Absolutely not. No, it doesn't have to be optimized. And not only that, the modern compiler will do a lot of optimization for you. Following basic principles such as respecting locality and doing exactly what needs to be done instead of introducing tens of abstractions just to achieve something results in fast software. Yes. Most software today is slow because it's extremely pessimized. Yeah, and over engineered, and this is when I wrote this. When I started writing this code, the first thing I said is, if you're a Java programmer or C# developer, you would have written an interface here, and you would have been wrong. But that's just me poking fun, right? What am I going to tell her that I left school when I was supposed to? How do we even know that you were supposed to leave school, Scott? You could be skiving right now. We have no idea, right? Are we just going to take your word for it? There we go. And then we're going to say name. Wait, no. Backwards. You're doing it backwards. Channel. And then we say channel.name is equal to name. And this is how we're going to find the thing that we're looking for, if we know how to spell channel, right? We can't compare a channel name to a channel name because we have not, added a partial equality to this thing, right? When we put everything in a dyn box. So that is also one of those things. There's absolutely nothing wrong with dyn box, and I would encourage anyone to try to make anything with dynamic types like a UI unless you're going to write this 100% in Rust. And even then, it's going to be hard without Dynbox, all right? That is going to be an adventure. You can do it, and you can leverage the type system. But using the UI is going to be a pain if you have things like notions like widgets, right? And widgets represented by traits and not by functions, right? Because you can use import in return position and chaining to construct large things. And this is what they did with Xylem that previously was Druid, right? That will generate. But even in that experimental code base, they have dynamic boxes, right? So or trait objects, as you normally say, right? You call your mom ma'am? Yes, ma'am. I'm just poking fun, Scully, again. Okay, right. So anyway, that was fun with words. Now that we have something, we're going to return, because I'm lazy, we're going to return an option of a unit here. Okay, option. So we can do this. And we can do this. And that's going to be our channel. Now, this has to be a mutable one, so we can deal. So channel, this is now a mutable reference, even though the LSP is too slow to tell us that. Add sub. The sub goes in there, and we're good. Except that we're not good, and we can't do this, because now, if the channel doesn't exist, we have to create this thing, right? Which is a little bit annoying. So we're going to get rid of this option here, and then that there, and then that there. And instead, we're going to write a match statement here, okay? Match statement like that. And then if we have some channel like so, then we add the sub, rub-a-dub-dub. If we don't have one, however, if it's none, then we have to insert a new channel, right? So if to say inner.push panic, because I don't remember what the type was, right? And no, not assigning anything here. What are you griping about? Oh, the L again. Oh my God, Rust, what a noob language. All right, so here we're just gonna make a new channel. You know what we could do? We can make this thing, instead of being new, we say with subscriber. You know what? We can just call it new. There's no confusion there, okay? So sub is a widget ID, and we're just gonna slot that in here. Look at that, ain't that easy? Now we can change up a terrible panic to be channel new name and sub. There we go. Look at that, beautiful. And there is nothing wrong here. It's just perfection. Perfection, no? All right, we're gonna have another function here called remove. And we're going to take a mutable reference to self. We're going to take a name. And that's going to be a channel name as per usual. And are they though? I don't know, Basiator. I don't know. Widget ID. So it's going to have roughly the same API, except in this case, we don't really care, right? If there's nothing here, we can just go and do that. Now, if we did that, Clippy would be all like, oh, you can't do that. You should use it flat instead. So we'll use that. So Clippy can just calm the flip down. And then we can do away with that. We can change you to remove, right? But wait, there is more. We're not quite done, right? Add remove. What do you mean there's no remove? Oh, add sub. Rename to add. And rename to remove. This is not the past. We don't have to be that specific. Now, here's the thing. If the channel is now empty, there is no reason for us to keep the channel around anymore. And if we were thinking about this in generic terms of, let's just, oh man, when did this get so serious now, okay? Oh, okay, dial down the seriousness, right? We could, now I feel like I have to justify everything I do. Okay, I won't do that. All right, we could, but I'm going to justify this one, all right? We could say if the channel is empty, we can now remove it. However, the channel is only going to occupy about 24 bytes plus the name, which is a string, so about 48 byte. You know what? Why don't we just have a look? 48 byte, look at that, right? It's going to occupy 48 bytes in there, and it's more likely that you're going to keep adding and removing as a result of hot reloading your code because you make modifications to a template. So constantly adding and removing from the channel, even though the memory is still allocated there, it still means that we're going to keep adding this thing, and we're not going to do that. So we are intentionally leaving an empty channel in there for that reason. Okay, but that is subscribers done now. Well, almost. We have one more thing to do. Thanks, Enrico. Nobody asked. Okay, sorry, I always wanted to say that, but I never have a reason to. Okay, so we're gonna have a crate visibility here because we don't really care. What? Really? You didn't notice that until now? In that case, in your world, you must have just been insulted by me and nothing happened. I mean, that's kind of fun in its own right, but you know. Anyway, so we are, again, this is also going to be published to the crate because we don't, now we can just make the subscriber thing public to the crate and not worry about it, but we're going to be very specific, right? Hello, C3. How you doing, Dota? I will un-VIP everyone after this stream if I remember, right? Just so there's no confusion. Okay, so we need one more function here, which is the get function that is going to get all the widget IDs based on channel name. And here, we don't need to pass ownership of the channel name. I don't know what the value of that is because we're going to have to own it anyway, but we can do so and look good doing it. All right, widget ID, there we go. It's just the way it works, right? Now, this could result in us using a channel name that doesn't have anything in it. Stop running that. Wait, what were you complaining about? Expected key found a unit. Okay. All right, so we are... shit, why am I explaining this stuff? Let's just get on with it, right? Self.inner.get... no, we have to do the find thing here. Oh, look at that. Copy and paste code. You're going to Rust Prison now. And then there we go. And then we're going to map this. So that's our channel. And we're going to map this to channel.subs. And if we don't find that, we're going to unwrap, or we're just going to pass an empty unit, not an empty unit, an empty list instead, which, oh, really, there you go. No. All right. Oh, fine. Dereference that. There we go. Chop. What? Oh, right. I didn't even read the error message, okay? We can see that we have two references. That means that we have to lifetime things up, right? Push the lifetime key. Bosh. All right. All right. Did that make sense to everyone? No. Why would you be mutable, though, right? Stop being mutable. All right. So because we have two references here, it would be a crime if we did not include lifetime, because it would be a crime if we applied lifetime elision. Now, we can't do that because we don't have that power, but you know. Do you use shortcuts for specific characters? Oh, Gigiano, escúchame. No, that wasn't Italian, right? I'm going to show you base core now. This is what I use for my keyboard, and it's going to blow your socks off, okay? All right. I hate this thing, even not understanding it. I just don't want it to be right. Okay, you know what, Dota? Just for you, okay? So what I'm doing here is I'm dereferencing this thing, right? And giving it a reference. But instead of doing that, I'll do this just for you, okay? So for programming keys, some keys, I have a separate layer here for some of these things, but more importantly, I have the lifetime macro, which means at the push of a singular button, I can get a lifetime, okay? That's very important. It isn't. Will you go to jail? I think we're all going to Rust jail, okay? Now, if for some reason you feel like your life is not perfect and you want to be young and handsome and successful like myself, then maybe this keyboard is for you, okay? For the low, low price of your soul and your firstborn and a couple of $100, you too can look like a cult leader to some degree. And you may or may not go to jail. I'm kidding, but I do love this keyboard. It is absolutely amazing. And yes, I do have specific things for the keys right now. This, okay, let me show you. Will the keyboard give you a cool accent?
Maybe.
I don't know, right? I thought that wasn't really an accent. It depends, right? It depends on what you qualify as cool. Okay, let's talk about what this does, you grammar shit, for a hot second. If we go to Rust vec, and we want to do some dereferencing here, right? We can look at the implementation of deref, okay? Whoops. Deref. So this can dereference to a slice. Now, this might look like a bunch of arcane bullshit to you, but let's do this in an example that can make a little bit of sense to you, okay? Let's go to lib here and let's waste my time and your time because that's what we do, okay? The first thing we're gonna do is use ops deref here, okay? There we go. And then we're gonna have our own struct called a thing that holds a string because that's what we do. Now we're going to implement deref for our thing here, okay? And then we're going to have a function here that takes a thing here, okay? And then we want to know what this thing does, okay? We're gonna observe this in action now. What is this thing, okay? Well, right now the LSP says it's unknown, but that's just because LSP cannot see the future and it's stupid. So what are we gonna dereference this to? A string slice, okay? And then here we're just gonna do self.0.as_stir, okay? What does this mean when we look at this now? It's a string slice. Okay, so this is equivalent to writing deref here, right? Cannot find that. Oh, right, self. Whoopsie doodles, right? So these two are the same thing, right? Do not think of this as a dereference and a reference, right? This is dereference T, okay? Now, you could, if you were being gross computer hobo, use this as a form of inheritance, but that will surely send you to jail, right? There you go. Okay, so what does this mean though, right? Well, I'll show you something more funky here before we get on with it, right? We dereference this to a string size. Do you know what that means? I can actually call ASCII. No, I can't because there's a nightly feature on it. I can call ASBytes, not to be confused with ASBytes, on T, all right? I can do T ASBytes. Why can I do this? Because it magically dereferences to the string, okay? So a function that I never implemented works. If I get rid of this block of beautiful code, if I could just find the 5, this no longer compiles, right? And that concludes confusing bullshit programming by me. Okay, let's get back into it, right? That sounds like deref with extra step. It is deref. There's no extra steps. It's literally deref. ASBytes. Now, that would be some kind of diet food because you'd be like, this contains 600 calories, but it's called ASBytes and it tastes like, right? And if you wonder what word I was bleeping out, it was called. And you can make rice as well, and that's also gross. And someone made call it pizza. Okay. Anyway, But cauliflower is good. Go to prison with you. Off with your head. Okay, anyway, so here we go. We have to use a lifetime here because we're going to get a slice. And we don't know, well, we know, but Rust can't figure this out because Rust is a skill issue. It's just going to look at the function signature and go like, oh, what lifetime should I use? What lifetime should I use? And I have no idea. So I'll give you a dirty error. And then here we're going to dereference this thing because I don't want to call as slice. We can also have called deref here because it can only be one implementation of deref, but then we have to import this crap for this to work, and we don't want to add this up there. What kind of skill issue is that? So we're just going to do that. It is now working. It is perfect. Don't look too hard at this thing. And now we have the thing that we need to get subscribers out of here. Okay, so what was the next thing we needed to do, right? Why am I in this demo, right? Oh yeah, some kind of trait that can transform things. So let's go and make a transformer. Robots in the sky. Robots in the skies. Okay, transformer. Let's have a public trait transformer. Now, here's a question that no one asked. If we have a public trait, that means that other people will be able to extend this. However, because we're doing this, we're gonna go, wait, forget you. Where's the rest of the thing I wrote? There we go. I doodled. Because we're going to do this. We're going to have something that translates to different types. We can't put these transformers anywhere. They have to be hard-coded into the application. So the transformer for chat messages and events and all these things has to be part of a match statement for us to be able to use them. We can pass functionality forward. We just can't return because they have different types. Why did that happen? All right, let's undo that shape. What do I want to do, right? That's what I want to do, right? So we can't pass anything back. If you're returning something, it has to have the same type. That just stands to reason. But we can keep pushing information forward and changing types as we go, right? Thanks to monomorphization and infiltrate in argument position, amongst other beautiful things, or impribrit, right? God, I hate those acronyms. I don't hate them, I just dislike them. Anyway, what were we talking about, right? Before this confusion. All right, sorry. I have so many conversations happening everywhere at the same time. The fact that I managed to put two words together to form a little third word is surprising even to me. Anyway, so we can't do this dynamically because so you say, oh, but you said box-dine trait. There's a trait object. You can store many box-dine traits together, you pleb. You are correct, except that we're going to have an associated type with this thing, and that makes it not object safe. So then you can't box this thing and put it anywhere other than up your nose. Okay, so type output, and because of this output because of this output type, we can no longer do that. Anyway, this is send, this is sync, and this is static. Okay, which obviously doesn't mean that this thing has to live forever, and nor does the output. It just means that whatever references you might want to put on the output, they have to have a static lifetime. They can still be owned, and don't worry about it. Anyway, so we're going to have a transform function here that returns an option of the output. I think output, which is arguably the hardest word in the English language to write, apparently, if you say so. You should, if you do not know the flow, and again, like I can't stress this enough, right? You gotta figure shit out, right? You can't just listen to us streamers. But if you do want to, if you know the flow of your data, if you already know how everything's gonna be laid out, then you can perform the optimization, right? So, which is why I will do certain things, all right? Because I know how that's going to fit together. But if you don't know, then you should absolutely not do any optimizations, because what is it that you're optimizing, all right? It's like the guy building a car and his job is to optimize the performance of the car. One way of doing that is to remove weight from the car, perhaps. So he removes the backrest of the seat or the entire seat itself, because it weighs a lot, and without it, the car will go slightly faster. But that causes problems for the guy who's trying to sell the car, because the car is now stupid, and buying the car would make you stupid. So because you would sit uncomfortably and then have an accident, right? And the accident would result in okay, whatever, right? You make up your own dreams. But there we go, right? So yes, do not optimize if you don't know what it is that you're optimizing. Early optimization is the root of all evil. Actually, I think the root of all evil is the roots on that thing, because they are not growing properly. There must be a lot of evil in there. How you doing, Poot? The best way to optimize building a car is to build 100 cars first. Yes, that is, well, the best way, if we're going to be really pedantic now, and we are, the best way to optimize building a car is to build 100 cars first, okay? That's my idea that I just came up with, right? But yes, but you're absolutely right, Dota, to know what to optimize well, you need to know what it is that you're optimizing, right? Yeah, we just gotta stop omitting these steps though, right? We're like, hey Max, it's written in sandwich lang. Oh, what's that? Never mind then. Oh, you tried to take credit for my ID? Oh my god, like, are you that sad? Oh my god. Okay. Let's stop now. Maybe. Dibs on sandwich line. Damn it. How did you become VIP? This is just like work, except I'm not touching you and asking for money. Okay. What are we doing? What kind of job do you have again? Never mind. What are we doing here? We're drinking water and writing code. All right, so we have this thing. All right, so let's go to our transformer. Pub create mod transformer. So this is why my voice is going out. How most people do, Dota. What's that meme? Scrolling images on stream. There's no way that's a bad idea. Oh, I can't find it now, but it's there. You fake it, and then the other guy goes, "When do you stop faking it? What do you mean?" Oh, we are here for the cringe though, Poot. I mean, Dora is here to try to pass my ideas off as their own, right? But the rest of us are here for the cringe, okay? So yeah, when it comes to like admitting that your shit is the first step to improving, right? Living in some kind of hubris bubble where you think that you're good at everything you do, that's a good way to suck, okay? Okay, so transformers transform, that's great. And now we're gonna take the output, if it is okay, and we're gonna send it to the emitter. So that's kind of the last thing we need to do now. So what do we call that? Let's just write this as a public async function called fiddlesticks. And here's where we're going to build all this up, right? And this is where we're going to need the agent. No, I'm too fast for the LSP. There we go. No. I was never going to write this in 10 minutes. I got to show you how you can build the components in 10 minutes. Are you guys intentionally misrepresenting what I'm saying? Do you want to be subject to abuse? Is that it? Anyway, so we're going to match on the agent.receive. And what is it that we're receiving? Now, we need to have a way to communicate with this thing. And remember that we have two different paths in here, right? We're going to get a value, or we're going to get... So this is like Twitch data coming in, and this is going to be widgets making noise, right? So a widget saying things like, oh, look at me, I want to subscribe, right? So we're going to break this thing into a message. That's going to be an enum m. Why are we calling it m? Because it has a stupid name, right? So it's either going to be Twitch data, which will be a value, or it's going to be a widget message, which is going to be some kind of widget nonsense, right? And we can quickly write up the widget nonsense, but we're going to put that somewhere else per chance, right? Oh my god, you're not even sub Dota? I don't know how to take you seriously now. All right, so when we match on this thing, we're gonna match and receive an M here, right? We're gonna rename this shortly, right? And then first of all, we're going to fill the match arms with joy. We cannot. Oh right, whoops. Async. My only weakness. Async Rust, my only weakness, right? Any of you in chat started learning Rust, but you ran into async and you stopped, right? Okay, so this is the true message. I don't know what we're gonna do in the error branch, so we'll come back to that one. We're gonna match on this message. G, thank you. And let's do this thing, right? I think the fill match is the most fun thing that the LSP can do, right? Okay. How easy it could have been done just as easy, right? It is async things. Oh, but I want so I learned Rust and I got stuck on async and I gave up. That's like, I wonder what the audience, the Venn diagram of the audience would look like. Hello Seb, how you doing? You know what's really funny though? If you do something like this, okay, let value equals true, false, okay, pretty good, I'd say. Yeah, you're impressed with this. Get rid of you for a hot second. There we go. Right. And then we're gonna match on the value, and we're gonna say fill match arms. No one wants to deal with this shit, right? But fill match arms is really funny, right? It's really useful as well, right? Okay, whoopsie doodles. Where are we? There we go. Right. In JavaScript, async is a promise, right? And it's actually, it is similar in Rust. What happens when you make an async function call is async fun. This will return an import of a future where the output is whatever you put there. So if this is an async function that's supposed to return, if we do this, pop async fun 1 returns a U32, okay? All right, hang on. We gotta get rid of it. We gotta get rid of the noise down here as well, right? If we do this, this will the sugar, which is not what you put in your coffee, to this, all right? All right, so these two functions are roughly the same, right? So this one will return a future. Now, a future has to be pulled, right? And so you'll await the future. And when the future is ready, and you don't deal with this, this is what the async runtime will deal with. The async runtime will go, oh, this thing is now ready. Let's say that this is networking, right? If you were to do this with blocking, like in a blocking fashion, you can do this in several different ways. You can, well, I said blocking, didn't I? If you do this in sync as opposed to async, right? And you have a list of sockets, then you can like iterate over the list of sockets and try to read. This is like old select, right? Like, don't do that, right? Because it's slow and terrible. But if you're using something like epoll instead, then you can tell the kernel to wake me up before you go and tell me when I can read from the socket. So we can pause the execution of tasks, right? So let's say that I have an async function here called run, and well, we're missing a few things here. We're going to call fun, run, no, fun. There we go, right? That's how you Rust, okay? And now if I do a couple of things here, right? Let's say that we have this async thing here, right? If I say value is async fun await, okay? We can do this because we can, and so on and so forth, right? If we do this, value 1, value 2, and now we can do something simple as a value 1 plus value 2. And I think this is a common issue with when you think about async, right? Whoops, we're not returning that. Oh, semicolons, right? So this function will prevent this function from executing, right? Because we're stuck here until this thing wakes up, all right? However, what we can do is we can change you to a handle, and you can be handle 2, and you can be 1. And then we could do something like Tokyo spawn, where we pass this function to Tokyo to do something. This will be faster, right? Assuming we have Tokyo available here. Now, these two can execute at different times. So we can start progressing one function, and then we're stuck there waiting for our socket to be ready to read from. Then we can start progressing something else, right? However, note that I cannot add these two together. They can execute at the same time, or the first one happens before the second one, or vice versa. It doesn't matter. But then when I want to do something with these two, I'm now going to have to join these, right? Value 1 is handle1.join, or probably await. In this case, that might be, well, we don't have Tokyo. Let's add Tokyo for this thing. So conversely, the code will at least compile, right? So this is our result. Yeah, so we're just going to unwrap this thing because this is how we do. And now we can go back to running this code again when we add these two together. So this thing will have to wait for this thing to finish, but we're not blocking this guy as we did before, right? So when you're awaiting, you're sitting there tapping your feet, looking at your clock, or because you have a wall clock on your arm. I don't know. You're looking at your watch, be like, oh my god, I have to wait for so long, right? That's what this thing is doing. Is literally awaiting the future to complete. Now the same thing is true in JavaScript, right? In JavaScript, you have the same situation. Why are we so serious now? This is almost educational, right? In JavaScript, you have the same thing, right? You have to resolve the future. You have to await the future in some way to progress, right? Or the promise, okay? That's what it's called, right? Whew. Anyway, right? This is way too serious, way too educational, way too little nonsense. Let's get on with it, right? Okay, where does this value come from? It comes from Surdy, Jason. No one's here for that, you know. Hello, Felix. How you doing? Why are you shouting? What are we saying? I gave up on component libraries, though. I thought I'd try this, decided it's a bad idea. I'm going to go back to making my own. Third-party stuff comes with a whole load of dependencies which need maintaining when you have all the additional features here. As long as you don't, I don't know the true context of this thing, but as long as it does what you need it to do, right, it's all tickety-boo. I think third-party components are amazing, but also they can be over-engineered, and you should only use them if they fit your need, right? And if something looks like it's gonna fit your need, but it doesn't, then you should yeet that into space, right? We sprinkle cool libraries, do we? All right, so this is a JSON value. This is a widget nonsense. So we need to do something for the widgets here. Now, what would be tempting is to slap this into its own module. So maybe we do that. So we'll call this components, even though they are not components, they are related to components. Now, this is the C# way of doing things. One file with 2 lines of code, okay? Let's look at the transformer here, right? What a pleb. Anyway, no, I'm kidding, because we're going to write a lot of transformers. As a matter of fact, we are most likely going to end up changing this thing to a mod.rs inside transformer. Now, you could make a directory called transformer and put a transformer.rs file outside of that directory, and it would do the same thing, but that would be annoying if you're using something like a file explorer that will sort things by directories first and then file names. Then they wouldn't be next to each other. And if you have a lot of files in there, you have to do some kind of brain scan. I don't know, right? Anyway, there's also the knee syndrome. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's cool, isn't it? Isn't that what we're here for? Okay, so moving on to this thing. What am I doing again? I don't remember. Pub, create, enum. And now we're going to have the actions that a widget can do, right? It can subscribe, which means we need our widget ID and a channel name. And then it can unsub, which you are not allowed to do, okay? I talked to Twitch and I asked them about it, and they said, no, if you unsub, you are a bad person and you should feel bad. Anyway, so we're going to take our action here and we're going to put that in here instead. So that's going to be A component action. The reason we're using the fully qualified path here is that this thing might also be called action. As a matter of fact, I know it isn't, but we're doing it anyway, right? Okay, so let's have a look at this thing. This is the actual message that we want to deal with here, right? Okay, let's match on the message here. I love match statements. Match statements are like the core. I told my body pillow wife the other day, I love YouTube and match statements. And she's like, no, she said nothing because she's not real. Look at this code. You will appreciate. I appreciate most things, I yes, but let's have a look. Let's have a look. Okay. Why do I look so fucking old? Oh man. I look so old. That is hilarious. That is, oh, but my hair looks way better. Oh my god. That is just gold, right? Look at that hair. My hair doesn't look that good. Look at this, I got fucking gray and shit. Right? What is this? That's glorious. Oh my god. That is unnerving. I'm sending that to the body pillow. I'm gonna stop referring to her as that. I'll be like, what are you doing? Never you mind, body pillow. Why are you calling me that? That's kind of offensive. I wasn't on YouTube's 10 years ago, right? Merch. Yeah. I mean, I don't have those gloves things, and my arms aren't that hairy, but you know, I appreciate it, right? I think that's beautiful. I think that should go in the meme channel. I bet it only takes one body pillow comment to get in big trouble. No, my missus is so used to my bullshit that it's just water for duck speak, right? And sometimes I start talking and I say something and I have no idea that I've said it either, which is even worse. One of the worst situation, and if you're under 18, you have to cover your ears now, okay? One of the worst situations I've been in when it comes to me accidentally saying things was when I was with a friend, two friends. They are married. They were married at the time as well, which makes this even worse. They were married, and we were on a train playing cards, and I was kind of scatterbrained, and I said to my friend, I said to my friend's wife, though, I said to her, you know, you have to cover your ears, right? I'm gonna tell you why this happens, right? But I said to her, it's your turn, sugar tits, which is not something you should say to people, okay? And obviously, these friends know me and know how absurd I can be, and they know that this is not something that I just, you know, do. But yeah, I said that to my friend's wife. I called her that, and obviously they just collapsed laughing. But if this would have been someone else, that would have been seriously disturbing. I think I told my wife that she looks like a hamburger once. And I walked into the kitchen and said something in the lines of, oh, you look like a hamburger. And what happens is that no alcohol. I don't drink. What happens is that sometimes I think I say a word, but a different word comes out. And this happens when I'm typing as well sometimes, right? Sometimes when I'm typing, I will write a completely different thing from what I want to write, but I think that I write the thing that I'm thinking of, right? That, and also all this combined with my face blindness leads to some pretty disturbing situations, right? Anyway, I have many times walked up to the wrong person in the supermarket thinking that's my wife, which makes things even more exciting in my life. But I'm an expert at pretending to have known you for a lifetime if it's the first time we meet, because as far as I'm concerned, it might not be, okay? It's not that bad. Have you heard what kids say in Call of Duty lobbies? I'm gonna assume it's a lot like so. I don't sort of frequent the parts of the interweb that use a lot of slurs. But I mean, I said that, and I'm talking on Twitch here, right? But in my chat, in my community, people are way too sensible, way too handsome, and way too cool.
to do any of that.
But I know that there are people who do this. I saw a video by a guy the other day who was trying to play some game, and there was a bunch of young people using racial slurs all the time. And if I heard my kids say that, I would lose my marbles, right? Yeah, it's Grimble Baggins, man. Like you can't like be that disrespectful. I mean, apparently you can, right? Anyway, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go and top up my water bottle, and then we're gonna finish implementing this thing. Look how grey my hair is, okay? I'm nothing like that picture. Okay, hang on to your sockets. Sugar. All right, absolute carnage upstairs, but here we go. I could never be a teacher. No, heck no. Being a teacher is probably the worst thing you could do to yourself. All right, I don't know what we're talking about, but that is my stance on that, right? Okay, so we have these two. Now we're gonna call this thing just run because that makes sense, right? So we're gonna have the subscribers in here because that's what we're gonna do, right? So let mute subs equals subscribers. New do we have a new thing there? Use self or create, doesn't matter which one here. Subscribers. Yes, all right, so we have I think we have a new function here. Yep, that will do what we needed to do. And now we're just gonna build up handling all these messages, right? Okay, so what do we do here with this? Why can't we? Oh yeah, these things have to be. Oh yeah, I forgot about that, right? We have to be able to deserialize these to be. We're probably gonna have to serialize them as well, don't we? Right. So for that, we need to cargo add 30. We need to add it with a feature of derive because I don't want to have to write all that stuff, right? Features plural. Nope, that's not the letter S. Okay, we'll come back in 2 days when I learn how to write. And now I have to just fix that. And this one too. There we go, right? What do you... Okay, agent's not mutable. Now, that makes sense. We never made that a thing. Okay, that one does not implement debug. It does now. It doesn't implement serialize. Serialize, deserialize. That is so nice when you can serialize. Get a theme tune going for this as well, don't we? Okay, are we good? Wait, value ID. Oh, right. And this is a new thing in Anathema that you might not have known about because this was added sneakily without anyone noticing. We have features here, and one of these features is going to be Surdy. Oh, we have Surdy features? Mmm. Okay, now then, we can compile and run all this stuff, right? So we can almost send messages into this thing, right? So if we get an action here, we're gonna match on the action. As you can see, there's kind of a lot going on here. So we might be better off condensing this into a type that has functions to do all this stuff, right? We don't care about a lot of these things for now, so we're just gonna do nothing at that point. And I guess that kind of shrinks everything. Fill some more match-ups. There's a lot of things that we can also clean up here, right? By qualifying these names accordingly. Like so. There we go. Hello, No Glob. How you doing? Well, I'm building something that's going to make it super easy to build like Twitch UI interfaces in chat. We're going to translate a bunch of bullshit into actual types. So we're going to like translate Twitch JSON data into states that can be used in a UI. Similar to the one up there that you can see here. I can point with the mouse cursor. That makes more sense. But then again, we're not here to make sense, are we? That would be ridiculous. All right, so here we're just going to say subs.add key. No. That's the ID, right? Widget ID. And then the name. Is this a channel name? Yes, it is. So that's all we have to do, yeah? No, it isn't. But, oh, it's the wrong way around. You goofed up. Widget ID. I have no idea about this widget ID. I don't know what to do with this widget ID and shoes, right? So name and widget ID. There we go. Now, we obviously have to change the order here. Otherwise, we would be insane in the mainframe. Wait, what? Channel name, right? Channel name. I poor vimmed. There we go. Whoops. Okay, so we're going to have one for remove as well. Add and remove. So what this means, right, is when you mount a widget into the widget tree, you can emit an action to this to subscribe. And when you unmount it, you unsub, right? But you know what we didn't solve in our ramblings? Also, thank you all for the follows. What we didn't resolve in our ramblings was the way we are going to communicate with this. And I don't know what to do about that. Okay, I have many ideas. Very few of them are good, but we'll see where we go with this thing, right? So here, this is where we're going to result to our like transformers and such, right? So we need to have an emitter in here as well, right? And the emitter is going to allow us to send messages, okay? It's going to be amazing. You're going to be like, what's that doing? It's emitting. It's emitting to the mic. No, not admitting, emitting. Oh my God, skill issue. All right, that's how I see the conversation go. So you go back here. This is the value that's coming in. We're just making noise. We dealt with that. Value going into something. The thing we're working on now is the something, right? This is our run function here, right? Submit. And we are now going to translate this into whatever the transform is doing. But if you remember from our doodling, we are going to pass information forward. So we're going to have the try and bit of whatever this thing does. So the transformer that is relevant to the ident is what we need to get, right? So we're going to have all the transformers here. Oh my God. How do we do this? If we're going to store the backlog, then we have to start with something. Okay. Let's make a transformer for now that is just for chat. So that'll be pub create struct chat. So we're calling it chat transformer, which is a little bit stupid, a little bit almost reverse Hungarian here, right? But we are going to do it because we want the end user to have as little work as possible to translate to what they need. So the end user do not need to care about the chat transformer. They just need to care about the chat message. So in that, we're going to make public. So let's make a new source Twitch RS here. And then here we're going to make, here we're going to make all of these things. Who are the recipients? The recipients are the widgets in the widget tree. So this is going to be where we store all this information. And I think here we can probably start off already knowing that we're going to have multiple submodules, right? So we'll start with a chat here, and then we're going to make a directory and the source called Twitch. And we're going to move our Twitch RS file into Twitch mod.rs. Okay, we already know we're going to have to do this for this one, right? So let's start with chat new source Twitch chat.rs pub struct chat. That's almost says chat, doesn't it? C hat. And now we need to know a couple of things, right? We need to know who is sending the chat message, and that's going to be a name, a display name, a username. I don't know, right? Because this is a little bit confusing, right? If we look at the Twitch API docs here, and we're going to grab the one for this particular thing, we're going to go to event sub. We're going to find subscription types. Yeah, .chat message, pop over here, and this is what this payload looks like that we're looking at, right? And who's the sender here? That's chatter username in this case, which is a little bit confusing. That's what we call it here. In another type of message, let's say you redeem a channel point event, so it'll be like a custom channel reward ad. Redemption ad. So if we look at this thing, now it is no longer called chatter username, but rather username, right? So the Twitch doesn't really have a definition for the field of who does something. There's never like a sender or a uniform name, right? So we're going to end up with a bunch of terrible names here in this very serious business here, right? So what did we call that for the chat? Maybe we can go back to chat message and see what that was called, right? That was called... The broadcaster would be the person whose chat you're in. Badgers is a form of animal. Okay, chatter username. Now, this one is a little bit awkward because we don't know if username is capitalized or not, right? If we go back to the blip, that was a button. If we go back to the previous one, ooh, weird. And we look at the... Oh, I tried to go to the top by pressing GG, right? Custom. And here they are called username. So username is the one that we want to use for getting the capitalized things in there, right? So I don't know if we have anyone with a capitalized name in the chat right now. If we do, you're not making a lot of noise, but it's the username that we're going to go for. So we're going to call this thing username, and we're going to assume, for the sake of everything, the username is in fact capitalized. And then we're going to have the text that makes up the chat message. They just call that message, but we have too many things calling message, and we have text there. I don't know what the type is. It would be good to maybe know that. So let's add that in there. Now, if you are an attentive viewer and knower of Rust, you realize that we can't call the field type because that's going to make Rust super angry with us, right? Type, string, and then Rust's going to go like, WTF, mate, what are you doing, right? We need to go here and add pub. No, we don't. Mod Twitch. All right, we'll add the pub thing later. We're just going to get to the anger part now, right? So we're going to call this message type instead. And now we have to do the whole serde thing, right? So we're going to derive from deserialize. We're never going to serialize these things, right? So we don't have to worry about that. And then we're just going to import serde. Can't the widget specify the format? The widgets can't specify anything, right? They would just say, this is the type of messages I want. That's all they can say, right? Source image format. Now you lost me. Implementer has a complete control over the data to extract and which. Well, you do. You just say, you declare a widget like this, right? My component, and then here for your message you just say chat, and what's the state? It's going to be the chat state, right? State like that, right? So that's all you have to do, right? You have to implement the let's qualify this thing as that so we can go to the definition, right? So whoops, whoopsie doopsie message, right? So here when you implement this function, we don't care about this for now or that, right? Yeah, I wasn't done writing that apparently. Whoopsie. Extra whoopsie. Can you please? There we go, right? So here, all we have to do is say state is equal to message into, right? And we're done. That's it. This is all the code that you have to write. I mean, bar this thing though, of course, right? To be able to get messages, right? And that's it. Chop, chop, shallots, we say. Okay, now here we're going to do a little bit of serde, right? We're going to say serde. No, yes, maybe. Rename is equal to type. I don't think that's right. That does not look right to me. All right, so we're going to go to docs rs. No, we're not. We're going to do serde, rust serde, docs rename. That's all we need. Feed, I've even been here before, right? Serde rename. Oh, brackets, serde rename. And then what do we do here, right? Wait, do we have to specify this? Oh, serde alias, even easier, right? Serde alias, then this will work, right? Oof, easy. Okay, now that might not be right. So we're gonna read this thing. Deserialize the field from a given name or from its Rust name, may be repeated to specify multiple names. Okay, all right, cool. That's fine. Wait, what is default? Oh yeah, that's gonna call a function. Yep. All right, cool beans. Don't get lost in the documentation. All right, so there we go. Now this would mean that we could actually, you know what? This is dumbassery because we can't do this. Okay, the messages are way too complex to do this. Can we maybe like fold the messages? Is that doable without complications? So let's go to serde, rust serde. How do we express this? Like we want to take a structure and flatten structure maybe. So if we go back to this thing, we can see that we have information from the event, but that one we don't care about, right? Here, all right. So we have this event here. So we want to get the username here, and then we want to get the where's the chat thing, right? We're gonna do the message. The first fragment, yeah, there's way too much stuff going on here for us to be able to do this without having to implement a specific like deserialized function here. So we're not going to bother doing that. Instead, we're going to get rid of you, and then we're going to write impl from or try from value for chat like that. If we do this, then we are whoops, then we are golden, aren't we? And error-wise, we don't really care what's happening there. This is all gonna fail rather silently for now. because there's nothing we can do with an error, right? If something fails to translate, what are we gonna do, right? We can just show like a broken message, but that seems kind of dumb, right? Anyway, so now we need to know where we are on the value, and I do think that we're gonna start off by calling this payload. Why do we call this thing payload? That's because that's what it's actually called outside of this. So what we're seeing here is the actual payload. If we go up here, maybe payload. Okay. Are you not present here? What about here? Well, what about here? Yes. Here we go. Here we can see the first payload. So all of these things comes from the payload, which is the root. So we're just going to borrow that. As a matter of fact, why don't we just do that then, right? So we'll take a reference to a value. Do we need to own the value? We could, but there's no inherent value in doing that, right? Okay. Oh no, everything has to be copied. No, not copied. It can't be copied since we have heap data. But everything has to be cloned because we have to send the message multiple times. Now, if we wanted to, we could use an arc, right? If you're expecting to send the message multiple times, but most likely you're not. So we won't do that. Okay, cool. This is just one of those things that you can't really do much about this unless you're going to over-engineer this thing, right? If you know for a fact that you need arcs, then you would write that in there. Hello, Privan boy. How you doing, son? How's life, right? Don't make a fucking Bellator joke, Russ. Oh my god. Why is Enrico VIP? Oh, I accidentally VIP'd him. I don't know. I fixed it. Right. Okay, so I mean, he did earn it, right? I accidentally abused him, and it was like I paid him off, right? This like instead of admitting to my mistakes, I just paid him off, right? Anyway, okay, everything is back to normal now. Okay, so try from for the value. So now we have to kind of construct this thing, right? Oh, you want your okay. Where are you? You're not in the badges, okay? Where is Enrico? I freaking love how bad the UI for that thing is. No. Apparently not, Enrico. You don't get one. It's probably because your name is so long. Yeah, that's why. Your name is too long. If we move the badges to the front, then that works. But if we don't, it's your own fault for having too long a name, right? What? When did you subscribe and I didn't say thank you? I'm looking through here. Anonymous gifted a sub to Booby Lover yesterday. ICS resubbed today. I don't see you doing any of the sort, eh? It's not here. Wait, hang on. I goofed up. Look, if I make a mistake, I will admit that it's your mistake. But until then, where is your sub, Enrico? That's ICS 3 hours ago, and that's from yesterday. And you redeemed Game Doll, and then Phil subbed yesterday. You're pulling the wool over my eyeballs here, okay? I can see that you're a sub, but that wasn't today or yesterday. No, you are subscribed. You just didn't sub today. I am getting trolled all the time, no glob. It didn't used to be this way. We used to be all like a big tight community who cared and loved for each other. Now it's just you did 30 minutes ago. Okay, but then you should have a button that you push to. There should be a button that you push to share that, right? It won't do anything if you just silently subscribe. Also, thank you very much for your sub, though. If you did subscribe, I do appreciate that. It says here that you have been tier 1 sub for 50 months, but that is only when I look. Whoops. Oh yeah, I can't move that window, right? That is only when I look at your name, right? In the chat, if I click on it, it doesn't. There was no notification because you didn't submit the notification, I guess. Okay, what are we doing here, right? We are going. It's annoying that we couldn't do this with like an option. All right, we're gonna take this message now. Where is it? Here. All right. So this is the payload. So we're gonna go into event message text. What's the fragment thing here? That wasn't here, was it? No, there it is. So we need to go to events message, right? So payload event message. I think it only announces it if you tell it to announce. I know I've seen that when I've subbed. So a message, that's going to get us here. And then we have the text. I wonder what the fragments are for, though. I kind of want to look at those. You're Ben Bezos Buseld, right? Ben Bezos. You make the joke. Message text. Okay, so that's gonna be the message. And then the whoopsie doodles. The text will be message text. So this is a little bit painful. Esther cloned. There we go. Thank you so much for the sub, Hybrid Low. There you go. Thank you so much. Yeah, so you have that where you thank you so much for the sub, by the way. So you have that, right? And then here we'll have let okay text equals that else return error. Now, unfortunately, we have to put curly brackets here, like some kind of pleb, right? We can't do cloned. All right, that's fine. We can get the text message though. And then Panksy. Always panic at the end, right? So that should give us a string slice. The LSP is like, whatever, nerd. There we go. Okay, so what else do we need to get from there, right? So we got the text and we needed the chatter username. That's what we're going for as well, right? Username. That is not part of the message. That is part of the, wait, event message? It's part of the event. We'll copy this thing. I don't trust myself not to get that wrong. Chatter username -o. Now it says new activity up here. Okay, so what do we need for this? We should have the, okay, we have the color there. You know, I've written this already once. Whoops. Okay, there was a lot of color in there. Maybe username. Maybe like chatter username in simple bun. Okay, let's open up that on line 56. Whoops, we don't even have the color. Okay, that was dumb. Hmm. Okay. All right. Anyway, we're just going to grab the color then. So color. That's going to be the color. But now we want to make this color into an actual hex string. So we're going to do hex from or try from color. And we have to bring the hex value in. Otherwise, that ain't going to work. Now that is optional. So color, we can now shadow this because we do, that's how we do, right? So then let's get rid of this and that and just say aster.map hex try from. And there we go. Now we get an option. Oh, an option of a result. Oh, we might have to flatten this. No. No, that doesn't work. We have to do and then. Jeez. Wait, what? Yeah, all right. So instead of having to write that, we write hex try from that. Woo. Anyway, what do we got here? Well, you know what? You're gonna get a sparkly heart for me in that venting channel, though. Even though I never read venting, I did it now just for you, Enrico, because you're such a dude, bro. In a good way. Okay, so we're gonna have the color. That'll be an option of a hex value. And I don't know what else we're gonna do. So I don't know what we're gonna do with the fragments. Maybe we store the fragments and fragment types just so we can look at that later. Later. It is later now. All right, so let's just make a pubstruct fragment here. Even though I kind of don't want that, we're gonna make it anyway. And what do we store in a fragment? We store this jazz. Grobo. Okay, so fragment type is a string, string, and then text. Well, that's just the chat thing, right? I don't know what cheer mode is. Why is that an option, right? We'll see if cheer mode exists anywhere here. Oh yeah, it's a whole thing. Oh, it's a whole thing. Wow, so much typing. Whose stupid idea was it to build this now? Okay. Oh my god. Okay, pubstruct cheer mode. Ooh. Clone deserialize. This is why we have this. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna have fragments. This is a vec of fragment. And then we're gonna have the emote. Wait, was it cheer mode? Yeah, cheer mode is cheer mode. And that's an optional value. So we're just gonna say option cheer mode like that. Oh, really? Hex does not implement deserialize. Hello world. That's kind of dumb, right? All right, I think we can do that here. So if we look at the widget ID, which is the key, which is in wrong place. Hex, struct hex. It's in the state. Now here we have to do some Groby stuff. We have to go into the store and we're gonna look at the TOML file for this thing, right? So we need these two features and we have no features for this thing. That's the wrong button. Yeah, we don't have any features there. And we're gonna copy this thing. Sadly, you can't have workspace dependencies that are optional. They can't be optional. So we have to do that. And then we're going to look at the key or the slab module here. Oh, look at this guy. Is familiar, isn't it? No? Where does the key come in? That's a value ID. There we go, right? So this is the code that we want, right? So if we have this feature, then we're going to derive these. So we do this only if we have the feature. Wait, what did I do? Copy you. I'm loving that. Lib hex. There we go. And then get out of here before we do something dumb. Good. Very good, ICS. Is there anything else where we probably have the color, right? Yeah, I think color needs to have the same feature. I don't think we have any other types that are subject to this. And technically, we don't need that either. But since we did a change, we have to test everything before we do anything new. Okay, everything's looking good. We're going to implement some new changes. Hex and color can now be... Yes, I know it's the wrong spelling. Shut up. Hex and color can now be serialized, deserialized if the SERDI feature is enabled. There we go. Yes to that, yes to that, yes to that, and 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 to that. New border style and the end feature. Oh. Do it all again. There's a lot of process now to be able to do these things. But that means that as far as we're concerned over here, we cannot use where Doddle can go. Twitch comms, there we go. Here, we cannot use Anathema from here anymore. We have to add this to Git. Right, otherwise this will just not work. Wait, what do you mean deserialize? Did I do something wrong? Oh yes, I did. So we need to add this to state as well. There we go. Okay. Cargo clean. All right, there we go. That was a little bit of a detour. Detour is no more. We're all rolling in it now. Everything's beautiful. Everyone is beautiful. Hopefully this will fix the issue and we can now go back and just get all this crap packed into one lush, gorgeous struct to be used for nothing but good. What? Are you serious? Did I do this wrong somehow? Did I do this wrong somehow? Features 30, branch dev. All right, maybe Rust cargo toml git URL. Maybe I goofed up this thing. Branch. I did not. All right, having a look. Why do I look so disapproving? Oh man, I'm jacked though, right? Hang on. Hang on. All right. I'm jacked. Love the gloves, man. They are not too far away from my actual gym gloves, which is even better. But why am I so disapproving? Also, I got fancier headphones than that. I'm kidding. That was great. That was great. All right, this is working. I just had to get rid of the lock file. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, what was I doing? Twitch chat. There we go. Hey, you can't be doing Twitch chat. Not with that attitude, you can't. So we're going to have our fragments. We have to build that up so we can do so with a map. But we're not done. Fragments were complicar. A tier mode is part of a fragment. So it has a prefix, a bits, and a tier. So prefix is a string. Bits is, well, they're not kind enough to give us the numerical type. So we're just going to say usize. And tier is also a usize. I think that can be a byte. That can be my U32. Just to... Really? There we go, right? 32. Yeah, okay. But if we make it a U size, it's going to grow, yeah? Yeah. All right, U32 is enough. Okay, so we have the fragment type, we have the text, we have the chmode, which is an option of a chmode. Then we have the emote, which is also something. But you know what? We're not going to care about this. Maybe we do need to care about this. Why, oh why is it so many things to care about? At least my hair looks more correct there, but that is a very disturbing Klingon. Hey, that's the receding hairline for you, but at least the hair is correct. Dump them in the meme channel. Dump them in the meme channel. There's more coming up. Please do. Just put them in the meme channel. I love looking there. Every time I have to do something boring in life and I have to wait, I go and look at the meme channel. Okay, do we have any more? Well, we have mentions somewhere. Where did that go? There we go. So what is mention? Is mention just null? You can see that we're moving up and down between these two, but we can see it because the text is aligning incorrectly. See that text? It jiggles. Layouts are hard, man. All right, that's a shared chat. That's fine. Okay, so mention's probably a string then, right? I don't know. Are we gonna have emotes? I mean, kind of. I guess we have to. And what's in an emote? Wait, what kind of fragments are these? Emotes in plural for a notification payload. Oof. Here emote is null and it's in singular, so I'm guessing emote here is just one. And this is an emote. I think this is fine. This is an emote. We'll go with this. Twitch, you may begin your bamboozling. Okay, that's gonna be text string. We have an ID, which is also a string, and then we have a set ID, which is unsurprisingly a string. Wow, there's a lot going on here. There is an insane amount going on here, according to Twitch. But here we go. Okay, so we have where did this thing live now, right? We gotta go back to the chat message to find this now. So we have emote and mention. All right, let's put the emote here, which is an option of an emote. Wow, building this up is gonna take a little bit of wrangling though, isn't it? All right, so we built all the way to, well, message type. Where does that come in? Message type is text. Okay, it's in the root with the, oh, we need the badges as well. Definitely need the badges. I think the badges might be elsewhere. All right. We need a badge in here too. And what did that look like? It needs a set ID, an ID, and some info. So set ID, ID, and info. And they're all just strings, yeah. They're numbers, but they're numbers as strings. So we have to treat that as strings because you have no idea if Twitch decides that 001 is different to 1, right? Since they made them strings instead of numbers. I mean, everything is a string here, so who knows? But, right? We kind of have to continue with their lunacy. Did we have... Okay, let's do a badge then. Well, we've done a badge. That's on there as well. Message type. We do have that. That's going to come from the event. Okay, cool beans. Message type. Whoops. And that's just called type here. Yeah, we can't like conveniently map this through SERDI, I don't think, because it's too complex. And then reply. Do we have a reply here? Is the reply just a string? I think. All right. And then that's a reply. Ow. Wow. Okay. I think maybe we have enough to build this up now, but good grief, that's a lot going on here, no? Okay, let's make the message. Time to get building. We could do try from for the other things as well, couldn't we? Let's not worry about it. Let's just brute this in here, okay? So let's look at this thing. We got username. Okay. Username is going to be username into or to own. Maybe to string is the preferred one. All right. Text will be text to string. Message type is that. And then color. That's just going to be color. We already dealt with that one. Now we get to the grossness here, right? Now we're going to do fragments. So we have to, well, we can do that up here maybe. And where those fragments come in, they are part of the message, which is message fragments. Can we do like an as list? All right, let's have a look at the last one. Oh damn, that one's scary, right? That one is I don't know, man. I feel like that one doesn't quite look like me here. Right? I feel like I'm way too cheerful. I like that it has unsafe code in it though. Yeah, post all this in the meme channel. I think it's funny. As list as vec maybe. What do we call this thing then? A string as array. Oh, I didn't read the unsafe code. That's even better that it's segfaults then, right? Okay, so that's an optional reference to our vec. So let's map this thing now. Okay, now we have to map these fragments here. That's gonna be a wait. Why is that a vec of value? Oh yeah, that's why. So we're gonna say frags.iter.map. I mean, this is just grody and gross, right? So let's have a function for fragments here. That returns a vec of fragment. And fragments is a value, the value reference. So fragments is u. There we go. All right, so we're going to take each fragment. Get rid of that. That should just be a value. Yes, it is. And then what does a fragment look like? We have a lot of crap in there. Okay, thank you. Fragment type is going to be... Come on, Rain. Woof, this is gross. That's what we'll do. Do you agree? Yes, you do. Fragment text Esther into. We need to own this. Okay, let's just say none here, here, and here. Let's see if this code will compile. Always panic, right? Let me see the error message. All right, that's a... Perfect. Always panic. Really? So that's an option. Oh, this thing here is the issue. Okay, yeah, we're good. I'm being a dumbass. Don't tell anyone. There. Okay, that works. That's our fragments. What's the next thing we need after fragments? Badgers. But wait, there's more. Fragments have all their own crap in them, right? Yeah, they have chi emote and emote and mention. So mention one is easy. That's going to be fragment. Mention. Esther. Map. I think that's fine. And then chi emote. How does that one manifest itself? Oh, we can't see that. Oof. There's only one though, so that would be fragment dot chair mode something. Some instance. Wow, my brain just died a little. I don't know about yours. Maybe you need some granola. I know I need some food. So should we stop for some food soon? Cheer mode. And we pass you in. That's right, Danny. You have to go there. All right, I don't think we can do this. I think they're going to be strings. Now, we'll be fine. Cheer mode. Prefix. Esther. To owned. Actually, I wonder if we could just do cloned here. And then bits can be a panic. No. We can't do that. But we can map that. Gross, but there we go. Okay, bits are just numbers, so we'll do cheer mode bits as int, as num, as u64. Yep, okay. And here is gonna be the same thing. Not tier. Don't make words up. That ain't gonna help. Okay. Well. No, this one will return a chi mode. No, it will not return a chi mode. because that fragment might be null. Right? If there's no prefix, then we're gonna say that. No, stop going there. Man. So either everything is null or not. Okay, can we... where is this? Do we have cheer mode? Ah, come on. I wanna see the data for this. Okay, where's like the definitions of this thing? On the webhooks? I think this is the same page, yeah. Just it's in here, but this is not the definition of the message. And it's not in the reference under anything useful. No. And these are all messages in the same thing. Okay, where can I see this? I'm not finding the definition of this. This is problematic. All right, well, we'll have to make do. We'll just guess then, right? So worst case, it will crash and we'll just fix it, right? That will have to be. So either there's bits and tears, many tears to be cried here, or there is no cheer mode. So that will work. Okay, then it's the emote. All right, what does the emote look like? Easy enough. That'll be emote text. We'll just copy this. You know what? Why don't we just write some like some extension functions for this instead, right? So we're gonna go to Twitch mod because this is getting a little bit silly, right? So pub create trait value extension, okay? Hopefully that will make sense. Own string. Like that. Okay, so we're kind of making some stuff up here. And then we're going to implement this thing for value. And I love that you can do this. So this will be self. We need that for everything. Oh, I goofed up. Hey, there we go, right? So self, name, Esther, map, toString, toString. Name as U64. Map the value That's a U32. And that is a U8. Yes. Yes. Okay, and then we can use super value extension. And then here we can just say what? On string. And get rid of that. Yeah. Calm down, Rusty. We'll get to you shortly. That's the JSON value. I love that you can do this. Oh, really? So we don't need the name then. Oops. Whoops. Stop deleting the wrong thing. There we go. There we go. There we go. Yay. Look at that. So now things will be a little bit easier. So instead of doing S, let's do 2 then, right? No, that's the wrong thing, right? Those are less, sensible, but as long as it's there. Hot pants. That's not something I would wear. Okay, let's have an emote. Then we're going to do emote text to, or just own string. Own string. Thank you. And then ID would probably be the webs. Could you not? The same thing like that. ID. Set ID. ID like though. Semicolon. And then this thing could just be owned string. That's not the right thing. And that too will be owned string. Because when wouldn't you need that, right? And this thing would be emote fragment emote, which is allowed to be none. And we did the emote. Oof. Okay. Wow, sir. Now, are we done? Let's just fill in the gaps now. What are you missing? Oh, it's not message, is it? It's chat. Okay, badges. That's gonna be badgers. That will be a vec of badges, won't it? So we'll do vec badge. Now, if you want a badge, all you have to do is be a loving and caring sausage. I don't think that's it. Matt, wow, I am so zonked right now. I need to go and eat some food. But I should just finish this up off stream, maybe, because this was super boring. And then we get to the fun part next time on stream. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, we love it.
All right, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that your values are aligned with mine. So what we're going to do is going to pass you guys on to Kubi Boy, and he will care for you from here on out. And I will be back either tonight or tomorrow. And you, all right, good ramblings, y'all. Have fun and don't attack strangers with sausages. Bye for now.